6 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show on 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt. That looks ridiculous.
Is that a hat? Are you happy to see me? The hell's on your head?
I haven't looked in the mirror yet.
It's probably a good idea.
Grab this out of the...
You should not do that anytime soon. What are you wearing?
If there's ever a day to tune into the video side of our show, Billy.
I didn't know we were doing fun hats today. I've got stuff that blinks. I would have known. I would have showed up and showed out. I got stuff that has lights on it and things.
So this thing even gets better. Check this out.
Oh my God! Look at that! Make America Great Again.
Make America Great Again.
Oh
it's
my Lord!
Like,
now
4 foot wide cowboy hat.
It is for those of us that are not doing the visual portion of the show on the Twitters and the Rumbles and the X's and the YouTubes. Jeff is wearing one of those novelty cowboy hats that are made of foam. It is bright red. White letters on it, Make America Great Again. And yeah, he looks like a little kid wearing his dad's hat. It's fantastic. It is wonderful. That is really, really good. There are very few of those novelty cowboy hats that really are worth the time and effort, and that is one of them. That is
Make
fantastic.
America Great Again one.
That is fantastic. That is amazing. I'm so sad that I didn't bring my silly hats. I have some really ridiculous
ones. It's the
ones.
day before the 4th of July. I got my American flag shirt on. We're celebrating the independence of this country. So. Yeah. By the way, people on Twitter all day yesterday admiring the fact that Donald Trump has pretty much just gone a little quiet since the debate.
Yeah, he has a little bit. Well, there have been some things he said, not as normally as boisterous as he is. So yeah,
so it looks like he's becoming a little bit more disciplined. So
yeah, we'll see if it lasts. Yeah, we will see.
$1 million question. Yep. Well, it's a beautiful day in the greatest country in history. It is Wednesday, July 3rd, and we are gearing up for a whole nother morning of engaging discussions, critical analysis, and most importantly, your calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So get your coffee brewing, Denver. Let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. This show is absolutely fire. Karine Jean-Pierre's press conference. We'll cover that in just a second. Rudolph Giuliani disbarred in the state of New York. Get out of here. We're going to talk about that as well. And then we're going to hear from a guy who just got back from Ukraine, the president of Defenders of Faith and Religious Freedom in Ukraine. What did he see? What did he hear? Good friend of mine, Gary Marx, worked with Ralph Reed for years with the Road to Majority and all those great folks over there. So Gary will be joining us. And then in the 8 o'clock hour, Adam Frisch. Does that name sound familiar?
Wow. Does he know he's coming on this show?
He does. He's very excited.
All right.
Incredibly accessible. I DM'd him and was just like, hey, Adam, saw your piece in the the Washington Post. Big editorial yesterday by Adam Frisch.
Yeah.
Calling for Joe Biden to step down for the sake of America.
Yeah. And that tells a lot about what his district is saying, too, because that's how he couched it.
That is exactly right.
Yep. And so that tells a lot about what his voters are hearing. And again, that given what we had last time with Boebert, that's an interesting dynamic because there is more unaffiliateds and Democrats in play, at least active in that district, than we would give them credit for.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, Republicans still win the district, but yeah, there's more in play.
So Adam Frisch, the Democrat nominee for Congressional District 3, you know that name because he went toe-to-toe with Lauren Boebert and lost by only 500 votes during the last election. He's going to join us, and I pointed this out to him via DM yesterday. We have invited Jeff Hurd on this show, the Republican nominee, probably a half dozen times.
You know what the real disappointing part about this is that once Adam figures out what show he's coming on, he's going to fire his communications manager. So, unfortunately, we are going to be responsible for at least one person losing their job today.
To his credit, I don't think I know there's a communications person involved there, but I was just going back and forth with him via DM.
Yeah, I know. That's why that's why the person's going to be fired. Like, did you not know to keep me buffered from these lunatics?
Did you see the hat he's wearing?
Yes.
Oh, my God.
Do not let me
go
to
a
shows
joke.
with people wearing hats that large. You have a rule here.
Adam, I will take take it off so you can at least use the video to the best of your ability during this interview.
That'd be so much fun to not be able to use it because you haven't wearing a giant hat. Oh, it's even better. Oh, this is great.
And then in the 9 o'clock hour, good friend of the show, Jenna Ellis. Yes, that Jenna Ellis is going to join us.
Jenna Ellis? You mean the one that doesn't do interviews? That's interesting. Nicely done.
Yeah,
that's fantastic.
We're going to be talking about the Declaration of Independence, and she'll provide a little commentary on the Supreme Court decision. Jenna Ellis, former President Trump's attorney, faced little issues in Georgia and Arizona, but friend of the
show. Not for today. We're talking Independence Day. We're looking forward. We're talking July 4th. We're talking Supreme Court. Those discussions are for another day. That is not why we asked her on. So, we're just going to put that aside. Yep.
And if you followed anything about Jenna's career, she's great at the kind of philosophical discussions around the values and principles that shape this nation. She wrote a whole entire book on the moral basis of the Constitution. So when you get into the moral foundation of this country, she's really great at it. So we'll discuss that in the 9 o'clock hour. So looking forward to an absolutely great show. But let's check in on the news with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, good morning, Jeff and Billy. Hump Day, Wednesday, 60 and sunny in Denver, expecting highs in the lower 90s today, the 710. 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story.
That could easily be the difference between something not happening at all or something large and substantial happening. Seems like every 4th of July, there's always somewhere in the country, there's a firework that went awry.
Independence Day, firework danger, wildfire danger, and travel. This is the day holiday travel kicks into high gear across the state, of course, and the country. The Department of Transportation warns that wait times will be long driving through the high country. In fact, the Eisenhower Tunnel is likely to reach capacity with up to 52,000 cars passing through this weekend. For those flying DIA today and this weekend, preparing for nearly 1 million passengers there, and many are getting their first look at the newest train cars. 6 of them are in service, and they're actually working, moving more people between the terminal and concourses. Colorado law enforcement from 66 state agencies will be fanning out to keep streets safe from drunk drivers. Last July, 91 people lost their lives in traffic crashes and 24 were due to DUI. Police also made 167 arrests over the 6-day enforcement period. Saturation patrols and sobriety checkpoints will again be set up through Monday, which is known as the deadliest summer weekend on the road, so be careful. This morning, Denver police looking for a white 2022 GMC Sierra truck, license plate CYT Z04, after a hit and run last night. The Supreme Court is deciding not to hear a case over whether social media sites should be held responsible for what users say. It involves a Texas teen who was groomed by his science teacher over Snapchat. His family sued, saying the site enabled the abuse. Former President Trump's sentencing in the campaign derailment show trial is being postponed until September. This comes after Trump's lawyers filed a letter with Judge Mersham looking to set aside the recent guilty verdict. The sentencing will now be delayed until September 18th at the earliest. Colorado Democratic candidate on the Western Slope, Adam Frisch, who Jeff and Billy just finished talking about, making national news, asking President Biden to step down.
We need a president that can unite America to realize our nation's unlimited potential. We deserve better. President Biden should withdraw from this race.
Joe, you did such a great job. You answered every question. You knew all the facts.
And Frisch will be on with Jeff and Billy coming up. And
you did such a good job.
Yes,
you went potty in the potty.
Now, so will the next Frisch poster be friend of the Jeff and Bill show, Adam Frisch.
That's right.
On the Western Slope for the Denver. That'll be fun. Good job getting him. Corinne Jean-Pierre, stupid answer to a reporter's question on Tuesday about Biden.
Does President Biden, at 81 years old, have Alzheimer's? any form of dementia or degenerative illness that cause these sorts of lapses? And it's a yes or no question. And if you don't know, why don't you, as one of his senior staff members, know?
I have an answer for you. Are you ready for it?
Yes.
It's a no. And I hope you're asking the other guy the same exact question. Okay, go ahead.
Asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of this.
All right, there are two things. That was ridiculous. She says, okay, ask Trump that question. All right, I'm sure hundreds of conservative reporters will ask that question. And number two, man, there's a lot of coughing going on in that press room. and they're not even wearing masks these days. God, you ever notice that? What a bunch of sick people, man. That has got to be one of the worst places. I've never been in there, but I'm sure you have, Jeff. But
I have.
press room.
One of the best moments of my young up and coming political career was getting a chance, because I was the media coordinator for the Senate Republican Conference, which means it was my job to book, like a booker, 55 Republican senators on radio and television every day.
Really?
So I would call MSNBC, CNN, Fox, all the producers, go, this is what we're going to talk about. So I got to be kind of part of the Republican communication infrastructure. Well, one day they took us all to the White House and we got to hang out with Tony Snow.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
Remember Tony Snow?
Yeah, he was awesome.
Great
No?
press secretary. Yeah, he passed away.
Yeah, that's right.
I think he had
Smart
colon
dude.
cancer. Very smart. But that was, I will never forget that. We talked Iraq, how the surge was going, all that stuff. It was very cool.
Oh, that's cool. I just noticed it more than ever. My God, it's like 20 people coughing. I mean, 4 years ago, everyone would have been, they would have had 20 masks on, and it's funny.
Kicked you out.
Yeah,
put you out on an island.
Oh, well, let me get some hand sanitizer. Let's get it going, or do it outside, during the summertime. Right. Rachel Goldberg, mother of Frisch, one of 8 American hostages held by Hamas, on with Hugh Hewitt this morning. Pray for these hostages this weekend and every day. Talk about them every day.
That the energy is out there, that there is salvation out there, there's redemption out there, there's mercy, and most importantly, that there is grace. And I feel privileged that even in this time of tremendous terror and agony, I have been the recipient of so much beauty, kindness, support, and love. And I am unbelievably grateful for that.
Wow, what an amazing lady. News brought to you by Lair Fireplace and Patio, Denver's premier source for everything fireplace, patio, and grills, locally owned and operated since 1954, online at lairfireplacepatio.com. The Brewers scored 2 runs in the top of the 9th to beat the Rocks 4-3 at Coors last night. They snap a 2-game win streak by Colorado tonight against the Brew Crew once again in downtown. 54 in Castle Pines, 55 in Lafayette, 60 in Denver. Let's see, it's Wednesday. All right. Jeff and Bill continue on Hump Day. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
7:10 5-day forecast. Warm, near 90 today. A couple of isolated thunderstorms late. Lows tonight in the 50s. Breezy northwest winds. It'll be cooler. Your 4th of July will only be upper 70s. Isolated thunderstorms. 50s Thursday night. Lower 80s Friday. 80s for the weekend. A few widely scattered showers and thunderstorms through Sunday. Weather sponsored by Branch Planning. Some income annuities are paying 25 to 45% more than last year. Get a free retirement review by calling Branch Planning today at 720-651-9800. Find out more at branchplanning.com. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Billy got a text message question here that might be good for other listeners.
Yeah.
You know the old adage, if somebody has a question, then other people probably have the same question.
Yeah.
If fireworks are illegal to shoot off, how come they are sold everywhere? So Channel 9 kind of gives an overview of how different counties deal with them. So the general rule across Colorado is that if it leaves the ground, it's illegal. So bottle rockets, lady fingers, mortars, Roman candles. Reminds me of that Joe Dirt.
Yeah, that is. Yeah. Oh, yes. That's a good
saw
one.
the video the other day. Just the names of fireworks are hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
But if it generally stays on the ground, you're okay. So if you're like me and you drive through Parker, they're on every corner selling fireworks at this point. Those are all approved, I believe.
Yeah,
they can't sell illegal fireworks.
No, you got to go to Wyoming to get those. And
you can't even transport them back to Colorado. Do you know it's illegal to transport them?
Yeah, theoretically. Just saying. No one's checking.
Help
Last
me
time I was there at the
understand
border,
this.
no one was checking.
Help me understand the difference between Colorado and Wyoming, because it's not like our states are that different geographically.
Yeah.
Right. And down here in Colorado, and rightfully so, I think, to a point, people are concerned about wildfires. Look, you had the fire that went through Boulder County and all that up there that just devastated entire communities. So I don't want to discount that, but it seems like we have two polar opposite approaches to fireworks.
Yeah,
you go up there, they're like, we don't care if the whole thing burns down, just have some fun.
Most of it is people. That's the reason. Is because
just the amount of people.
Yeah, it's the amount of people, and that's two reasons. One is, oddly enough, more people equals more stupid. You increase the quotient of the available number of stupid people, the more people you put into an area. You know, it's just how math works. And other things are with the space up there. Any sort of a fire or anything else, it's not necessarily as damaging. And the idea being how they're geographically spread out. A fire doesn't necessarily put the number of homes and people in danger that it would here inside the population centers. And again, this was always growing up. My dad always talked about this, that this was the evening in which some people in our society said goodbye to the last time they're going to see all of their fingers. Because tomorrow they will not have all of them anymore. and again, we have a famous New York Giants player that lost some fingers, Jason Pierre-Paul, by holding on to fireworks in his hand, and it blew off a couple of his fingers.
You combine beer and...
Yes, oddly enough. Yes,
decisions are made.
Yes, alcohol and things that explode do not always lead to really, really intelligent decisions. But I can't say that as a child, I always made intelligent decisions with fireworks either.
No, I did not either.
Not in the least. Ever do fireworks fights?
Yes, that we with lacrosse poles.
Oh, interesting.
So you would take the top off the lacrosse, and you had this little steel shaft.
Yep.
And you'd drop a bottle rocket down it, light it, and then you'd run around and shoot it at each other. Yep. And I had one bounce off my eye and explode.
Wow. You guys are amateurs.
Did you get the Roman candles?
No, we did those, but we actually built our own rocket launchers for the bottle rockets. And so what we did is we took PVC tubes and you cut them down to a certain size, and then you can attach a handle on the top, and you can also put a little bit of a backing back there so you know where it sits on the shoulder, and then you cut a hole in the top. You cut a little slit. It has to go about 1.5 inches, and you need it about 1/4 inch wide. And what will happen is you slide the bottle rocket in, the fuse will pop out.
Yeah.
So then you sit there and you light it in the tube, and then and it goes off. Yes. Yeah. we thought about this way too much.
So if you're ever wondering what dumb kids with fireworks grow up to become, it's radio hosts.
Exactly. So tell your kids, do not play with the fireworks, because this is the future that awaits them. This is the biggest right here.
You get to get up real early in the morning.
Yes. This screen, what you see on the screen right now on the YouTube, this is the danger. It should be a poster in your houses right now. Yes. Enjoy it.
Be safe out there. We had a neighbor that just piped them all in from Wyoming and just didn't care. And I think he probably paid off the cops and big firework, because this was Cherry Hills before Cherry Hills is now. It used to be a whole bunch of ranch homes.
Yeah.
Now it's like mega mansions.
Oh yeah, it's huge. Yeah, there used to be a lot more space inside there. Yeah.
And so he would have a huge party, and all the neighbors would come over, and the cops would come over, and he'd just slap them on the back and hand them a 50 or something like that.
I have a friend in Pueblo who does the same thing, brings the stuff down from from Wyoming, but it's where their neighborhood is. They actually apply for a street fair permit, and they get to close off the end of either street.
Nice.
And they're able to get a waiver from law enforcement for some fireworks that get let in the air because of the, their safety precautions, things like that.
Right.
They have to show, the police come over and check, and they have to have a bucket of water that has this much. They have to make sure that people stay this far away. Yeah.
Garden hose.
Exactly. Yeah. And okay, here's the other thing though. As a kid, what was your most disappointing firework? What was the one that you were like, oh, this is going to be cool? And then this is awful.
Well, the ones that are the lamest, even to this day, where
Yeah.
I'm like, why did people even buy these? They're the stupid little growing snakes.
Yes. Why the hell would you ever buy those? I mean, at least the little cap poppy things, you can throw them at your friends.
Yeah,
I mean,
right,
do anything,
exactly.
you can throw them at people.
Put
You
them
can't do
behind
anything.
tires and let people freak out when they go off.
You
Right.
can't do anything with those stupid snakes. Nothing. And
No.
the only thing that is more disappointing are those little tanks. They're okay, but at least they explode, but they don't do anything. But those snakes are stupid. I have no idea why they still exist.
You would think for all the social libertarianism that Colorado embraces, right?
Yeah.
Commercialized pot, decriminalized psychedelic mushrooms, doctor-assisted suicide, sports gambling, abortion without any restrictions whatsoever. But fireworks.
Yeah.
We really are going to jump on you for fireworks. And
We're really concerned about that
I
safety
get the
measure.
idea of the fire and all that, but come on, have a little fun, a little at least, And here's my other question to you, Billy, about this. We didn't plan to talk about this, but we're getting text messages about it. Oh gosh, it just fell out of my head.
Okay, well, I want to tell some of this. I do have a cautionary tale. I'm just going to let all the kids out there know, or at least if you have kids or grandkids, let the kids know that if you place fireworks into a mailbox, that might be near a federal crime. I am just saying, I'm not speaking of personal experience, but may have gotten in trouble when I was a kid. Doing some of those same things.
There's an extra added benefit to watching us on the YouTube Rumble.
Yes.
Or
I might have to talk to some people about some smoke bombs.
Here's the question I was going to ask. Did you see that video? It was like in LA a few years ago where every backyard seemed to be sending mortars out.
Yes. Just boom, boom.
And the helicopters were flying around. And it was just like this. And all of these were banned. And it looked like every home in the entire city was participating in it.
It looked like Walmart had a discount sale. It was like, what the hell's going on here?
So what do you think is going to happen in Denver? Because I'm looking at this right now on Channel 9. They list out, and they have for the city of Denver, the possession, manufacture, storage, sale, handling, and use of fireworks are prohibited. In the city and county of Denver, penalties and violations are up to $1,000 in fine for the possession.
Wow. Oddly enough, I don't think they.
Again, up to 1 year in jail.
Geez. I mean, you probably have to go over the top. And most of the time, they're going to be like, "Stop that, stop that." The thing for me, though, is, and we've experienced this already, the early celebrators, people shooting off stuff early. Now, yesterday, it was like 4:30. Like, it's still light out. What the hell are you doing? I mean, in my other job, when I'm working with Westwood One, I'm reading some announcements for stations across the country because they have, hey, come join us at the fireworks festival, blah, blah, blah. And they always talk about, and fireworks start at dusk. And so my line when I'm reading a lot of those is I go, because you can't see them when it's light out. And so I just keep going. And it's just a nice little thing to throw in as you're reading the thing. And then I'm listening to these guys shoot off fireworks yesterday, and I'm like, it's light out. You're wasting your money. What are you doing? This is, unless you were trying to hurt each other, that you're not doing anything fun, because that's what we had to do. We had to play in the light. Yeah.
9884. Gee, let's celebrate America by blowing up a piece of her. Stupid people.
The only retort I will have text here is explosions are fun.
And do you know about the founding of our country? We'll get into this with Jenna Ellis later, but how dare you tax us? We're going to war.
The thing for me is just open flames and explosions. That's all I need. I'm in. I am in on that one. You have got me at hello. I'm all into that one. So yeah. Now, best fireworks displays that you've seen. What were the ones, Jeff, that you find memorable? What are the things like the Hunt household?
All right.
Where are the go-to fireworks displays?
The one you've always got to get to at least one point in your lifetime is the Capitol in Washington, D.C.
Oh, yeah. Nice,
with the big orchestra. And then they play the and the big fireworks, and you get to see them near the Washington Monument. And my wife and I were dating or just married at the time, and went and laid out. She worked on Capitol Hill, and laid out the blanket and just sat there and watched. That was a big memory I'll never forget. Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool. My favorite in the state of Colorado was Grand Lake. Now, again, Grand Lake holds a special place in my heart, but the thing for me is they take a boat and they float it out into the lake because one year they caught the shore on fire. And I might have been about 12 feet away from the fire. One of the things. Put it out? No, I just didn't want to catch on fire. We were sitting behind this little ridge away from where the beach was, and one of the mortars falls over and goes boom and shoots it right into the trees next to us, and the trees go boom immediately. I'm like, wow! I'm like, people are gonna come over here and want to do something about this. We need to move, so we moved about that one. But I love it because they put it out on the water now, and when the fireworks explode, because of Mount Baldy and how the lake sits, it echoes and it rolls around the water. So it goes boom, boom.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, so you've got this rolling echo. The other one, of course, the Rockies anytime.
Yes, that is cool.
Yeah, that's a really good one.
You get to go lie down on the field.
And now, low-key, best place to go and watch fireworks that are going to be shot over downtown without having to do the parking, go to Diamond Hill. It is just west of downtown. It's a small, tiny little office park, but because it sits on that hill, it sits you and almost puts you eye level right above the buildings at downtown. There's nobody else around you. You've got open parking. You don't have to worry about getting in and out of there. You don't deal with the crowds, the stupid drunk people, and it is a spectacular view of any time they are doing fireworks downtown. Diamond Hill. It's a little tiny office park that's just west of I-25. And west of downtown. If they're doing something at Ellis's or anywhere else, you're right there. It is really, really nice. So if you've got the kids, you don't want to drag them downtown, but you still want to take them out and see the fireworks, go Google Diamond Hill. That is the easiest, best way. And hey, and we've done it before with the kids in the minivan, where we took the minivan, we turned it around backwards. You open up the back,
right.
You drop the bag, you drop the seats in the minivan, you turn on a little bit of the music, and you sit there with the kids. You let them run around in the parking lot and stuff like that, and they get to do it, and the fireworks shoot off, and it's great. And then afterwards, you pack it up and you're right on I-25. There's no traffic. Again,
we're getting home early.
Yes, parents, this is a key. If you haven't figured out where you're going to watch fireworks and you don't want to play with the crowds, check out Diamond Hill. It's a great place to be.
Dude, we are getting great text messages here. Here's a hilarious one from Tyler in Golden. You know what's not cool, Bobby? Paying, and he's referencing a old TV show, paying taxes on fireworks to celebrate the day we quit paying taxes.
Yes, Hank Hill.
That's right.
Fantastic. Yep.
Here's another good one. 3433. This must be awesome.
Yeah.
I grew up on the East Coast in the early 80s where my dad was on the local police department and was part of the bomb squad. He got all the confiscated fireworks, and I did my civic duty by helping him dispose of them properly.
Oh,
I'd get a box of the stuff and turned on my way.
Oh my God, I'm so jealous the amount of trouble I could have caused.
I don't remember the pandemic year fireworks. 2020.
God,
You're saying that was
either.
Crazy.
I'd have to go back and think. I try to block that whole entire year out. That was such a mess. Try to create some sort of just a mental block there because we did so many things so badly.
KKP writes, "Morning, boys. True amateurs." He's referring to us.
Hey, all right, yeah.
My record is 17 gross of bottle rockets at once. Take a 12-inch concrete footer form attached to a plywood base. Dust the bottom with Gex black powder.
Oh, yeah.
Insert rockets packed tightly. Add a piece of flash fuse. My God.
That's clever.
Light the flash fuse and enjoy as the Gex ignites all the rockets simultaneously.
Ooh.
We might be crossing a little bit of a line here, Billy.
That's neat. Now, we had done, we never got that far. We had gotten to the point where we were taking the PVC tubes and attaching them together so you could sit there and you can get 3, 4, 5, 6 in a row, but nothing that big. You have my admiration. We could have gotten in so much trouble. There's so many. I'm going back to my childhood going, Oh, yeah, that would have been so much fun if we're here and we could have done it there. Oh, that's amazing. God, that's
2073. Best firework ever was a shell that carried up little army men with parachutes, and all the kiddos would run out on the field and catch them.
Oh,
that is cool.
That's amazing.
I don't even know how you do that without all the little parachutes getting lit on fire and damaged.
And the other thing is, we played with those parachutes and the plastic things. They never worked right. I mean, you throw them up in the air and it's like, like, oh, well, Private Johnson's dead. That sucks. Like, that didn't work out well.
Rod in Littleton, Denver prosecutes people for fireworks? Come on, doubt it. They don't prosecute for much else.
Well, here's
Rod,
the thing.
you don't know about how Denver works.
Yeah.
If you commit a real crime, no. But if you're a nice, law-abiding citizen, wants to have a little fun once in a while,
however,
they'll definitely get you.
However, Rod, that you are correct that the only time it's okay is if you are either related to or married to someone in the DA's office. And then you can light as many fires as you want. Fireworks are free for you all year round. Whatever you want to do. It doesn't matter. It's okay. It's like get out of jail free card. Yep.
You know, this is the day before a holiday because we had planned a in-depth discussion about Karine Jean-Pierre's press conference in Rudolph Giuliani's department. But you got two boys who loved setting up fireworks when they were kids, starting to talk about that. And,
yes.
Well,
oh, well.
It's now 6:30.
It is. And we need a break.
All right. We'll get to the serious stuff, maybe. Or maybe somebody wants to call in and tell us their fireworks stories. 303-696-1971. It's the day before America's birthday. And you're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour in Berlin, I'm Trent Murray, and here are the top stories we're following. California is bracing for a sustained heat wave that the National Weather Service has called, quote, exceptionally dangerous. From San Francisco, Ira Spitzer has the story.
Excessive heat warnings and watches remain in effect throughout most of California into early next week, with local authorities directing residents to air-conditioned cooling centers if necessary. In the state's Central Valley, forecasters are predicting at least 10 straight days with temperatures topping 110 degrees Fahrenheit or 43 degrees Celsius. Wildfires are a risk as well, prompting the state's main electricity provider to announce targeted shutoffs in a bid to prevent its equipment from sparking fires.
Hurricane Beryl continues to barrel towards Jamaica after inflicting devastation on several islands across the Caribbean. Jamaica's Prime Minister has introduced a nighttime curfew as the now Category 4 storm approaches, with forecasters predicting flash flooding, winds topping 150 miles per hour, and storm surge which could push tides between 3 and 5 feet above normal levels. The hurricane's path shows it will continue to move towards the Cayman Islands and Mexico's Yucatan coast. And that's what you need to know at this hour. I'm Trent Murray in Berlin on Salem News Channel.
to get in trouble, and guess who just showed up?
Oh, you called the warden.
The fire warden.
That's not good.
He showed up.
That is not good.
Now.
I sort of want to steal that hat. I mean, it's no
The
idea.
fire warden hat or
Yeah.
my Make America Great
Either
Again cowboy
one.
hat?
Either
I think
one.
you look great in that.
I have a shocking lack of hats, which is really silly. If you've seen my bedroom, I have a lot of hats, and I feel so underdressed at this point.
Well, we got in trouble because we were not only talking about all the antics, but at
Yes.
one point reading, or almost, I want to say, a recipe.
Yes, and suggestions. And yes,
It's the day before America's birthday, and we love blowing up stuff. Joining us in studio is Mark Crowley, who works here, who was at one point a Denver police officer. And so after the last segment, we just said, hey, did you ever have any experience? And he goes, oh, I worked firework night a lot. So joining us is Mark.
And Mark gets this really nice smile
Oh,
when he
yes,
knows
I
how
would put my headphones on. So I can
Oh,
hear
yeah,
you.
you should. Yeah. There you go. Yeah,
There
Mark,
we go.
Mark gets this wonderful, nice smile, and he's like, "Oh, yes, I did."
Oh, yes, I did.
So tell us.
All right. What did you face out there? What kind of yahoos and shenanigans?
Well, there is a possibility that I was also on the other side of the shenanigans at one time. No doubt about it. Actually, I was a fireworks kid. We used to head up to Wyoming every July, or actually in June, come back with big bricks of Black Cat firecrackers and M80s and cherry bombs, the good stuff, right? And we would go down to the Highline Canal, and most of those bigger ones like cherry bombs and M80s have waterproof fuses,
right?
And so you light the fuse and you throw it in the canal, and it's like a depth charge because it finishes its fuse and then it blows up, and then this big stream of water comes up, and bottle rockets too. You shoot them in the water, and they go like a torpedo.
Yeah,
because it happens so fast they don't have time to get soaked, and they still blow up in there. But yeah, it must have been the late 90s, I guess. DPD paired up with Denver Fire, and we would have patrols, during fireworks season, and we would handle all the calls. There'd be a fireman and a policeman in the unit, and we would go and answer all those calls, and we confiscated tons and tons. At the end of the night, we'd come in at like 2 a.m. when our shift finished, and we would have truckloads of fireworks that they had confiscated. Yeah. And there's some houses that are the place where it's the secret supplier or whatever, garages full of the good stuff. It's not like little sparklers and torches. It was big torpedoes and shells.
I bet they could get a premium on them, right? Because they're the ones who go to work, bring them down from Wyoming, and then mark them up.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like all the arguments used against me for drug criminalization and decriminalization can be used to fireworks as well. And then did you guys find your way over to the Highline Canal after confiscating all those?
I don't think the statute of limitations has expired yet. So, but
that's no comment.
I know one case, at least I heard. I don't have this firsthand. Well, maybe I do. A bottle rocket going out the window of one police car into another police car, wedging itself at the top of the dash, exploding and cracking the windshield. So I heard that happen.
Oh, that's an awkward explanation.
Yeah.
So exactly what were you doing in the car?
Exactly.
When the window broke?
That's right.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. That's like when I found out that possibly, again, not a personal story per se, but in my neighborhood the mailboxes were attached, so they went inside the house.
Right.
So maybe if someone would put smoke bombs in the mailboxes, it would fill the house, and there may be questions from people with badges about what happened. There may be conversations. Yeah, I've heard. So I have heard. I can't say personally, so I've heard.
Mark, we only got another minute or two here, and then we got you choose the news. What would your recommendation be to somebody when they have to deal with law enforcement? So let's say they're doing something they maybe shouldn't have been doing. They went out there to Wyoming, and the police show up. Is your recommendation cooperation?
Yeah, I think cooperation equals, okay, we're going to take your stuff and that'll be the end of it. Thank you very much. Have a great night. Yeah. because it's kind of balanced. The response kind of gets met with the attitude kind of a thing. So if you're caught, you got the stuff, it's technically illegal. So just take your medicine, be done with it. You're going to lose a few bucks worth of fireworks, but you're not going to get a summons. You're not going to go to court, all that kind of stuff. So, but it's one of my favorite days of the year at the same time.
So have fun, be safe,
and
cooperate.
And it is dry. So
that's right.
That's what we got to be careful of.
Yeah, everybody should show up on Friday with all their fingers. That's what we're asking for.
Yeah, I've been close in that regard too.
Me too.
I remember my cousins would get those and we'd put them on anthills. Those cherry bombs.
Yeah.
And then just rain in ants.
Yep. I did a lot of those, dropped them in the water. Yeah, you do the fishing, you do that. Yeah, there's so many little things.
You learn as a young boy.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, and they also had dumpsters in downtown Denver, big ones in the neighborhoods.
Oh, make a lot of noise.
Oh, yes. Those make a lot of noise.
The reverb with an M80 going off in an empty dumpster.
Oh, it's fantastic.
There's nothing quite like it.
Nothing at all.
Nothing quite like it.
For blocks, people wonder what the hell is going on. Yes.
And there are differences. I've noticed this since we moved out to Elbert County. You set off a firework in Highlands Ranch, and everyone's, did you hear the gunshot? There's a gunshot.
Yeah.
There's a gunshot. You go out to Elbert County, you can shoot guns.
Yes.
Nobody cares.
Yeah, no.
And they will be doing that. They will be popping off on their own property. And Elbert County police always tell us, or Elizabeth sheriffs, just say, as long as the bullet stays on your property, we don't care too much.
You're fine. Yep.
All right, we've got You Choose the News coming up. Mark Crowley, thanks for joining
so
us.
much.
Always good to be
Fire
here.
warden and former police with DPD, works here now at Salem.
Yeah, I got to see if someday he can tase you. I'm just gonna,
I'll do that.
And you say that now.
On that note, I was watching this the other day because I probably shouldn't admit this, but I'm a really big fan of the Jackass movie series.
Oh yeah,
and I was watching the old takes of them, and Johnny Knoxville kind of shot into prominence when for a video he tested all the different police defense mechanisms, from pepper spray to tasing to even getting shot with a bulletproof vest on.
Oh my gosh, that's one where it's like, nah, maybe not.
So maybe we take this show to a whole nother level when Jeff gets tased.
That's a whole promotion. That is a whole promotion we're going to be doing.
All right, we got You Choose the News coming up next. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Want to take your favorite radio station wherever you go? Now, there's an app for that. No matter where you are, stream your favorite shows. Tap the app to listen to podcasts, text message your favorite local hosts, call the show, get the latest headlines, and enter contests to win prizes. All in the palm of your hand. Available now for iOS and Android devices in the App Store or Google Play. And best of all, it's free. Download today.
Billy, I'm getting a little worried. Some of these text messages may be considered domestic terrorism. I don't know.
They're my people.
We filled an inner tube with oxygen and acetylene.
Oh, wow. Acetylene. Yeah.
Yeah. Slid a cigarette over the fuse of an M88, duct taped it to a tube, floated it down the river in the middle of town, and waited for the boom.
Yeah, and it would just boom. Oh, that's some fun chemistry. Ooh, that's nice. That's next level stuff. I like that.
All right, we've gone off the rails today.
Just today?
Let's do You Choose the News, Billy.
Yes, sir. It is that time of the morning where, yes, we get to be even more silly and ridiculous. It is time for everybody's favorite fake radio news game show. You Choose the News. I spent mere moments this morning scouring the interwebs for really dumb stories about us humans because we do a lot of really stupid things. We've given them music-inspired headlines this morning because I'm just a giant idiot. But just a reminder before we get to Blake Olson and Jeff Hunt for the fun part of the show, this is probably not sponsored by Roll 'em Out Shelves. They're a wonderful mother-son team that will come to your house and solve your clutter issues. We're talking bathroom, garage, den, kitchen. Doesn't matter. You've got shelving where there's stuff stuck in the back that you've never seen before. You're like an archaeologist. They will solve it immediately. Custom shelves, and they're built to fit. It's unlike anything else you've ever experienced, and they'll come to your house and they'll give you an estimate for free. Check them out today. RollEmOutShelves.com. Alrighty, now to the serious portion of the game show. Alrighty, sirs. Here are your headlines. Headline number 1, Imagine Dragons inspiration. Headline number 2, Santana does not approve. Headline number 3, Ed Sheeran good, Billie Eilish bad. And headline number 4, Stan Rogers asks, what's your problem? All right, Mr. Hunt, your choice, sir.
Ed Sheeran, please.
Yes, Ed Sheeran good, Billie Eilish bad. In Hong Kong, 2 schools have been called out because their kids were not patriotic enough because of how they sang. In Hong Kong, they issue educational reports after inspections of all of their schools. 2 schools were called out because they said, while the flag-raising ceremony was solemn and the students leading it were skilled, the singing of the anthem was weak. So they have been told, sing louder! Yes, in order to show your patriotism. Several other schools were shouted out saying they absolutely showed the reverence and the enthusiasm when singing the Chinese anthem. Because one thing that we know that when you're singing an anthem or pledging something to a doing it compulsory always makes it better. Always. That's how it works. Yes. Alrighty. Blake Olson, your choice, sir.
Yes.
Imagine Dragons inspiration. Santana does not approve, or Stan Rogers asks, what's your problem?
You know music, so I'm going to say, I'm winning. Who is that?
I'm winning? Is that Stan Rogers?
Oh, no, that's not.
No,
I
that's
was
not.
thinking that's Santana.
No, it's not Santana. I'm like winning.
Sorry.
You can do I'm smooth. But
I'm
this one,
so
you want to do
sorry,
no, it's okay. Santana, here's the idea. Now, you remember Santana had that wonderful song about Black Magic Woman?
Yes. Black Magic Woman.
Yes,
That's what I was
but
thinking of.
the climate change and energy environment minister for the Maldives is going a little Black Magic Woman. The minister has been arrested for allegedly performing black magic on the president. Yes.
Really?
Yes. I don't know what or how or what sort of curse was involved or anything else. I just love the idea that you can be arrested for black magic. We have our true presidential candidates wandering around in what looks like sometimes, magic-induced stupors, and we're like, that seems fine. But they're like, no, curses. And yeah, I would like, what would happen? Let's just, maybe next time we have to have in the debate, maybe Biden has to go, I'm giving you the evil eye, and see if it happens to Trump or something. I just think that would make it more fun.
I love it.
Yeah, I love the fact that he got arrested for a black magic curse.
What article is that?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, what is it? I have no idea. The bottom line is, do not go to the government in Maldives. Do not get a job there. Alrighty, final choice this morning, Mr. Hunt. Imagine Dragons inspiration, or Stan Rogers asks, what's your problem?
Stan Rogers.
Yeah, Stan Rogers asks, what's your problem? He hit the charts with his hit Delivery Delayed. And a Mumbai man was bemused recently when he got a customer support call from Flipkart about his missing slippers. He had ordered slippers. Now, Flipkart is much like an Amazon, but in the Asian Pacific Rim. He ordered his slippers and they never arrived. He has been upset. He has been sending emails. He has been reaching out to customer service for 6 years. And has finally gotten a call back. Yes, customer service is job 1 at Flipkart. They finally reached out after 6 years and they said, sir, what's your problem? He goes, no slippers? They said, oh my God, I'm so sorry. We really apologize, and we will get on this right away. Please expect delivery of your slippers in the next 5 to 7 years. Probably what's going to happen. So that's probably it. Yeah. 6 years later, they call him back. That is the end of You Choose the News. That's all the time we got. It's back to you, sir.
7 o'clock hour, we're going to hear from Gary Marx. He's just back from Ukraine, president of Defenders of Faith and Religious Freedom there. So stick around. You're listening to the Jeff Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Seven a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado.
I don't know what happened to the show open. I don't know. I feel like I need the hum.
What's the old the song they play on the 4th of July?
Oh, yeah. Yes. Or we should just do the song that never ends. This is the song that never ends. It goes on and on. Yeah. I know. Can't flashback.
I'm having like PTSD since you brought that up.
I know. Isn't it bad?
All right. Welcome to the Jeff and Bill Show. It's 7 a.m. in the Mile High City. It's the day before a major U.S. holiday. We love America. We love fireworks. The show has been completely off the rails since it started at 6 a.m. And we're just going to continue to roll with it. So be sure to stick around with us. We've got a great show coming up in just a second. We're talking with Gary Marx. He's just back from Ukraine, working with pastors over there. He's going to tell us the real story of what's happening. I think that's important to listen to. 8 a.m. Adam Frisch. Yes, that Adam Frisch. The Democrat nominee for Congressional District 3 is going to join us. he's got a new opinion piece in the Washington Post calling for Joe Biden to step aside. Wild. I mean, absolutely wild. So we'll talk with Adam Frisch, and I want to point this out. Jeff Hurd, the Republican nominee for Congressional District 3, not on the show. We've invited him at least a half dozen times, and hasn't gotten him yet. So hopefully Jeff will join us at some point. But Adam Frisch today, and then in the 9 o'clock hour, Jenna Ellis is going to join us. We're going to talk about the Declaration of Independence. So we got an absolutely great show coming up for you. Before I get to Blake Olson, Blake, are you there?
I am here.
All right, Blake.
Yes.
I want you to listen to this audio.
Okay.
I'll give you my favorite President Trump story. This is my number one favorite of all time. When we were negotiating with the Taliban, while President Trump was still the president, President Trump wanted to get out of Afghanistan, but he wanted a conditions-based withdrawal, meaning that you do what we tell you to do, and then we will start pulling troops back slowly as long as you abide by our rules. It's President Trump and Mike Pompeo, and they are talking to Taliban leadership in the room, and they had one translator in the room. President Trump looked at the Taliban leader and said this: I want to leave Afghanistan, but it's going to be a conditions-based withdrawal. And translator translated. And he said, if you harm a hair on a single American, I'm going to kill you. And the translator goes, and Trump goes, tell him.
Yes.
Tell him what I said. Tell him what I said. Reached in his pocket, pulled out a satellite photo of the leader of the Taliban's home and handed it to him.
Shut up.
Got up and walked out the room.
Sure did.
Do you know for 18 months, not a single American was killed in Afghanistan?
Sure did.
That's the definition of strength. That's what I'm talking about. And so you could imagine that kind of sentiment being around the world. If we have an embassy in another country, no one's going to touch it because they're going to be fearful that they'll get a Moab on their head. That's how President Trump rolls. This is the opposite of strength.
Isn't that amazing?
That's awesome.
I love that.
Don't negotiate with terrorists, man. Set the tone. Wow.
Who
was that?
That was Wesley Hunt. He's a representative from Texas telling that story.
That was awesome. Oh my goodness. Now imagine what he says to other people. And, I mean, not only terrorists, but how he he knows how to handle these relationships.
Yeah.
Like Putin. I mean, he's, we have nothing in common with Putin,
nope.
And he's not his buddy, but they respect one another.
Yep.
That the whole Ukraine thing wouldn't have happened if he was in office.
I agree. All right.
There's no doubt.
I heard that and I was like, man,
that's awesome,
I miss having a chief executive
that
can do that as opposed to Mr. Stumble Around. And
oh man, God, that was powerful. That was
we can have
pretty
it
cool.
again, Blake. We can have it again. We just gotta make America great again. Look at that cowboy hat right there.
That's right. I love the hat, man. That's pretty cool. It'll look good in the interview with Frisch.
Yeah,
all the Democrats.
That may go somewhere else. So we might have to bring it up a notch.
You're not gonna take it off, are you?
Well, for these 3 interviews, I probably will.
You
so I
are?
don't look like a total.
Okay, I don't know. It gives you a lot of credibility. I like it. All right, 60 and sunny in Denver, expecting highs in the lower 90s. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story.
Yeah, girl, I'm out here in these streets. And let me tell you, you're right, Taraji. There is so much at stake in this moment. The majority of us believe in freedom and equality. But these extremists, as they say, they're not like us.
Ah, yes, she out here in these streets. Vice President Kamala Harris being talked about as the top choice to replace President Biden if he decides to end his re-election campaign. Some in the Democratic Party say Harris has the highest name recognition among the likely replacements. Colorado's Adam Frisch, a candidate in CD3 who's going to be on the show later on the Western Slope, making some news nationally. He says, hey, Joe, it's time to go.
We need a president that can unite America to realize our nation's unlimited potential. We deserve better. President Biden should withdraw from this race.
It's pretty amazing to look back at 1972 when the issue was this 30-year-old slickster from Delaware is too young to be a senator.
In Washington today, he was having trouble convincing some people he really is a senator and having some doubts about the Senate seniority system, while hoping older members won't hold his age against him.
I expect these fellows are going to eventually judge me on my merit, not on my age, and I have to establish that merit, assuming there is any there. I don't think it's going to be much of a problem. Beyond having other senator staffs think I'm applying for a job or as a page or something.
With the COVID, with dealing with everything we have to do with, look, if
Okay, so my over-under is now down to 12 days. We'll see if it hits. Former President Trump's sentencing in the campaign derailment show trial is being postponed until September. Now, this comes after employers filed.
All righty.
That hasn't happened in a while. Here, I'm going to bring Blake down for a second. I want to see if I can talk to him.
We're going to get Blake back on here in just a second.
Okay. Am I back? Okay.
Yeah, we got you back.
Now. You're
back.
Good.
That was fun.
Yeah.
That's been at least 2 months.
Oh, yeah. The robot overlords have said you're okay now. So whatever it is you did.
They really didn't like what I was saying.
No, they didn't. And you must have been able to get over there and choose all the fire hydrants on the picture properly. So good job. I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. The U.S. Is preparing to announce a new $2.3 billion security aid package for Ukraine. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin said the money will go to air defense, interceptors, anti-tank weapons, and other munitions. It's the 60th anniversary of the Civil Rights Act, the landmark civil rights bill that was signed into law in 1964, outlawed discrimination based on race and dismantled Jim Crow laws. Reverend Al Sharpton, keeping his industry alive, said the unfortunate reality is that many of our hard-won civil rights are under threat once again. Really? They are? The Supreme Court is deciding not to hear a case over whether social media sites should be held responsible for what users say. It involves a Texas teen who was groomed by his science teacher over Snapchat. Holiday travel kicks into high gear today. The Department of Transportation warns wait times will be long driving through the mountains. The Eisenhower Tunnel is likely to reach capacity with up to 52,000 cars passing through this weekend. DIA expects nearly 1 million passengers with some new train cars running. 66 state law enforcement agencies will be spreading out to keep the roads and highways safe from drunk drivers. Saturation patrols and sobriety checkpoints will again be set up through Monday, which is known as the deadliest summer weekend on the roads. This morning, Denver police looking for a white 2022 GMC Sierra truck, license plate CYT-Z04, after a hit and run last night. People in Highlands Ranch are on the lookout for bears following several recent sightings in the neighborhood. One of the local reports says that bears were strolling down sidewalks and hitting doorbell cameras in the area. They've captured video of bears walking around, some pretty big ones as well. I actually saw, when I lived in Lone Tree, a bear walked right by my neighbor and I at the mailbox. It was pretty cool. Colorado Parks and Wildlife officials say the bears are likely coming into neighborhoods to dig through the trash and look for food. So keep your trash indoors until garbage day, and then make sure you thoroughly clean your outdoor grill. And those are probably the best steps to keep them away. The Brewers scored 2 runs in the top of the ninth to beat the Rockies 4-3 at Coors Field, snap a 2-game win streak tonight against the Brew Crew downtown. And it's 58 in Larkspur, 60 in Greenwood Village, 63 in Denver. And I think that's Black Magic Wand. Sorry about that.
Yes, that is.
Billy, I don't know why I was thinking Steve Winwood.
Oh, that's reason. Winwood. Okay, yeah. That's,
I don't know why I thought that. That was
way out of
dumb.
That's okay.
That was really dumb.
I got a friend of mine was actually an at a concert. It was in San Francisco, the late 60s, early 70s. And a big kind of sort of pseudo festival. And it's about 2:30 in the afternoon. And, they're sitting out in the grass. Nobody's paying attention. And all of a sudden, someone on the, up there on the stage announces, together. And then the guitar starts playing. And he and his friends just turn and go, what? And just stop what they're doing and watch. And then at the end, a small Hispanic guy steps up to the microphone and goes, I'm Santana. Have a good night. And enjoy the rest of the show. Yeah, he was the opener, but not the opener. He was the opener. Yeah, he was playing middle of the afternoon.
No way.
Yeah, that's just crazy.
Warming up.
I know. Yeah, it's Santana at that time.
Cool.
That's just nuts.
No,
yeah.
that you don't run into that a lot.
No. Hey, thanks for the music, man.
Thank you, and thanks for getting me back on there. Jeff and Bill continue. It's Wednesday. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
710 5-day forecast. Warm near 90 today. A couple of isolated thunderstorms late. Lows tonight in the 50s. Breezy northwest winds. It'll be cooler. Your 4th of July will only be upper 70s. Isolated thunderstorms. 50s Thursday night. Lower 80s Friday. 80s for the weekend. A few widely scattered showers and thunderstorms through Sunday. Weather sponsored by Branch Planning. Some income annuities are paying 25 to 45% more than last year. Get a free retirement review by calling Branch Planning today at 720-651-9800. Find out more at branchplanning.com. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
If you know, you know.
Having a lot of fun on this Wednesday right before America's birthday. You tuned into the Jeff and Bill show. In just a second, we're going to hear from Gary Marx. He's the president, Defenders of Faith and Religious Freedom in Ukraine. Just got back from the Ukraine prayer breakfast, going to give us an insight on what's happening there. And then 8 o'clock hour, Adam Frisch, followed by Jenna Ellis. My goodness, there's not another show that's going to have this all together. Jenna Ellis and Adam Frisch, and a pastor from Ukraine.
No, this is great. This is why we are so much different than everybody else.
So different.
Yeah. Nobody else has the testicular fortitude to do these things that we do. Yeah. And especially, like the last hour. And I know we got an email about someone that was just jealous about your cool hat. They were disappointed in the direction of the show last hour. I'm like, they were just jealous of your hat. That's all I saw in that email. That was nothing about. I will tell you this, Billy. Jealousy.
It's a little unique for me to. I got a message yesterday from an elected official that was questioning some of the things that we had said on the show, and I'm just like, wow, dude, we are at that level now.
And here's the best part about it: just remember, in the dynamic of this show, if that happens in the future, blame me. That's all you have to do. Blame me. That's kind of my role. That's exactly. You can go, I'm sorry. I'm apologizing again for Bill. Yes, we know he should not be out in public. We know how this is. I'm so sorry. Yes. Just have that pre-written. And so you can just send it out afterwards because that'll help you out a lot. It'll save you some time.
Billy, I got a question for you and for our listeners. Real fireworks or drone show?
Ew. Real. Has to be. And it's only real because if there's no danger, it's not as much fun.
Those drones are kind of cool, though, man.
Yeah, the drones are super cool. Just not for the day where you get to blow stuff up. There's one day. We get one day out of the entire year where we're allowed to light the fires and blow the stuff up. One? Just one? Why do you want to take my happiness? Why do you want to take my joy of the boom and all the fire and the people getting hurt sometimes? Did
you see this text message from Iggy that when he was younger, he and his girlfriend would sit directly under the fireworks when they exploded in anticipation of consuming mild mind-altering substances?
I would assume that you may have started those mind-altering substances before you got there because you came to that conclusion. You're like, well, this obviously is going to work. This is a foolproof plan so you reach the next level.
Let's go to Dwayne and Divide. Dwayne, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Dwayne.
Morning.
Yeah, good morning, gentlemen. You should have a bomb on by the Gap Band after that Donald Trump.
Oh, yeah.
That would have been sweet.
That is good.
Of course, Smooth, number 3 song in the entire world, over 30 million copies sold. Yeah, all that stuff proves that back in the 90s, I was a part-time DJ when I was not a distinguished gentleman by the United States Air Force. Michael Jackson's Thriller came out. Idiot that there about on the
Oh no,
flash
Dwayne, your phone is breaking up. Do me a favor. I'm gonna drop you right now. Call me right back, and we will link you right back in. I just want you to reroute through the cells because we just can't get to you. I want to give you that
that's
time.
a bummer. Let's go to Steve, Denver. You're on the Jeff and Bill show. Good morning, Steve.
Hey, good morning. I'm still trying to figure out if Billy is a genius or an idiot, or an idiot genius, or maybe just one or the other.
We're all trying to figure that out about ourselves, but go ahead.
Yeah, even my wife is still trying to figure that out. Hey, marry this idiot.
Oh,
or this genius idiot.
I am definitely not a genius, but I do know this. Yesterday, when you were discussing Steve Bannon, you said that it wasn't political. And everything in Washington is political.
Mm-hmm.
Even going to the bathroom. You can go in the mixed gender bathroom. That's political. Who said this? We have the best government money can buy. Was that Mark Twain?
Oh, I forget, but yeah, you're right.
Or that other philosopher guy, from like the early 30s.
Now, Steve, I see what you're saying about it being political. And the only reason I say that in this case it's not necessarily political is because, but I think you've got a point. I think if you were saying, hey, because it is happening inside of the Washington ecosystem, and because it's happening to Steve Bannon based on the fact that he was a former Trump advisor, I can get to the point where, okay, I can see it being political, but I'm not certain that the motivation necessarily is political. And the only reason I push back on that is because we got two dudes. You got Navarro and you've got Bannon. The other people that, if we were talking about it being political and ignoring subpoenas, the people you go after, someone like Jim Jordan, because that would be a huge one to get a current sitting member of Congress held in contempt for what happened for not showing up during the January 6th committee. That would be an enormous one. The other one would be something like, as Jeff brought up like yesterday, Eric Holder is pushing something like that. But again, Holder was in charge of the DOJ and he's not going to investigate himself. That's the issue. And the other reason I push back on it is because we have the DOJ investigating people like Gold Bars Bob and Henry Cuellar and a few others. So if it was purely political, I think we'd have more. But I don't discount your rationalization and your reasoning behind because it happens inside of the Washington ecosystem and because it is this political January 6th committee and Steve Bannon, that then you can say that it can be political. Yeah, I can get there with you, man.
Okay, well, see, that's where you're a genius. You were able to say all of that stuff, but I was just using the KISS principle. Keep it simple, stupid, and if you don't, you're the stupid one. Anything and everything that goes on in Washington is political. Now, here's where you're a real genius. Everything in this city is run by Democrats. And correct me if I'm wrong, but there are no left-leaning, left-wing radio programs on in the Denver metro area. And you come back on there and get all the right side of the aisle all Twitter-pated about the Steve Bannon thing by saying it's not political. So what you're doing is you're allowing the leftists to have a little leeway here on talk radio that the rightists dominate. So that's absolutely brilliant. But there are times when I think that you're just like Peter Boyles, just get both sides and then you'll have a great show.
Yeah, I'd like to delve into that a little bit with you, Steve. And see, the thing is that I understand there are so many people that look at me as being this liberal. And in fact, I am very unmoored from either political party. I know that I sit on my own desert island. And in some ways, some of my beliefs are a dichotomy and clash against each other. I know that I'm inconsistent and I own that. I understand that, bringing that to table, but I've also been unaffiliated. I haven't been a member of either political party for more than 2 decades. So when we talk about Colorado,
me neither.
Yeah, which is great. And so when you talk about Colorado having this huge segment of unaffiliated voters, and in many ways, Colorado was really ahead of the curve. We started seeing people abandoning both parties here earlier than they did elsewhere in the country. And the reason they've given me
But they
space,
keep electing Democrats.
yeah, you're right. They do. And I think some of that, and we could talk about some of that, is lack of good messaging sometimes on the Republican side. And the thing that I would point to would be our city council and mayor in Aurora. Those are solid conservatives, but their message has won and has resonated with many liberal voters. I mean, liberals in Aurora tossed out the socialists and chose the conservative. That's a really good lesson on messaging. And the other part is that, when they kind of put the show together, that many times talk radio has become a mutual admiration society, that we've stood around saying, look how smart we are, look how gorgeous we are, and it's a remarkable that everybody doesn't agree with everything that we're saying. And we sit around and we talk to each other about how intelligent we are without actually engaging in the conversations. And since I was a kid,
I've seen you guys on YouTube. You guys are not gorgeous.
You are right. You are right, sir. In fact, I question every day why they put us on the YouTubes and Twitter and everything else. There's no way that anybody should be waking up in the morning and having to look at this face. That is a really bad way to start your day. But I appreciate everybody that does join us there. And I always look for interesting conversations. I was always the person that was known for asking the difficult questions in class. I was the person that inside of conversations when friends were hanging out, I would ask that difficult question to challenge some other people's beliefs, because I'm wired to swim against the stream. And that's why Pete Boyles and I get along so well, because he's wired that way too, that we can see it. When someone says, this is how it is and this is how it has to be, he and I, our first instincts are, watch me, and I'll show you what I can do. That's kind of basically what it is. So that's kind of what I'm looking at, man.
Hey, Billy?
Steve? Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah.
Me too, because in 5th grade, I was in Catholic school, and they were saying that if you think about committing the sin, it's just like committing the sin.
Yeah.
So then I raised my hand, and I said, well, you might as well just go commit the sin then.
Now, Steve, I sure appreciate that. I will tell you this. During a time in which there was a priest that was discussing with us young middle school boys about certain things that we shouldn't do when we're getting feelings, because maybe things will happen. And he mentioned the thing about glasses. Well, I asked why he was wearing glasses. I had to go sit in the hall for a while. I'm just saying that's I got in trouble.
Oh, I grew up with them in my family. You Catholic eye pokers.
Oh, yes. All the time. All the time. Yeah.
A good portion of my family went to Catholic school, and they felt the same way. All right, let's go to Dwayne back in Divide. Dwayne, we get a good connection this time.
I certainly hope so. I'm up here in Denver.
Sound much better. Yeah.
I'm up here in Denver. I don't know why I'm not getting a good signal. So yeah, we're boarding. It's 110 in Kazakhstan. I'm looking forward to this. It's a 9-hour flight to Turkey, and then 6 hours into Star City, and then 3 hours on a Land Rover to go see this thing that I'm going to do.
Wow.
If I make it and get out of Turkey, everything should be fine. But if you get a phone call from me and it's like, oh, Billy, it's a Midnight Express movie redo it. Please help me. Please.
I will. We'll get Stephen Tubbs on the case right away, because he's got DEA people, and so he knows people higher up the chain. So we'll pull all the levers we can for you.
I'll need federal people. I'm gonna be like Lori Griner there, except I won't have a vape pen.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so we're from there. Stupidity of pyrotechnics. When I wasn't a gentleman by confirmation in the United States government, I would work in nightclubs, and I took 4 ounces of flash powder and put it against a mirrored wall in a nightclub. And when Michael Jackson's Thriller first came out, I was one of the first guys to get a copy of it. And as you know, the song and everything else, and it has the beginning crescendo. Well, some idiot sat there and lit off 4 ounces of flash power in front of a mirror. Well, it lit up the place pretty much to the intensity of the sun.
Yeah.
And the place went wild. Management wanted to kill this particular individual, i.e. me, but we already had fans running to suck all the stuff out. So I was like, it was a perfect opportunity. And people kept coming in going, when are you going to do that big bang again? So.
Oh, Dwayne, you're my hero.
Well, you do what you do when you can. Anyway, guys, I love Denver, but I'm getting out of here. 110. I want you to know that I left the house. It was 48 degrees this morning.
Jeez.
So I love the mountain living, but
5
days, guys. If everything works well, I'll be
all right.
I'll be big.
Now, what we want to do is when you come back, we want to hear about the car that you uncovered. Is it exactly what you thought it was? Why it's so special? But more importantly, what was it like getting in and out? Can you do that for us, sir?
I'll have everything ready. And as a Ferrari, I've seen and confirmed the serial number. And
I can't wait to hear. Because
so
those,
if
you find one of those hidden gems, I'm with you, man. I got to figure out what you found. So, but I don't want to spoil it until after.
Well, that's just it. I got to see more myself.
Excellent.
Gentlemen, it's been fun. If I don't hear from you, God bless America, and we'll talk to you guys in 5 days.
Hey, you're the best. Be safe,
Dwayne. Be safe. We'll be praying for a quick return or a good return and a good trip. I like Dwayne a lot. He's a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
All right. In a second, we're going to get into what's happening in Ukraine. We got somebody who just came back from their prayer breakfast working with pastors over there. I want to talk to you about QC Kinetics. Went by and visited with them yesterday, Billy. It was great. A great opportunity to see how they're working over there. Look, life in Colorado is awesome this time of year, but not so much if you got joint pain in your knees or shoulders. The good news is that QC Kinetics is here with the most advanced treatments using regenerative medicine. Why are they so popular right now? Because especially as you get older, the last thing you want to do is go under the knife, because once they start slicing and dicing, you end up with all these problems. They were talking to me about one client had his knee replaced, and then the joint popped out again, all that. Look, this is not pain management. It's not a miracle cure. It's simply working with your own body to get healing going. And we got a member of our own staff here that's working with QC Kinetics, and he was telling me the other day he walked around with his wife, and they hiked 5 miles around a mountain town. No back pain. It was one of the first times he's had that in a long time, and he was an athlete. QC Kinetics can get you moving again with no surgery, no drugs, and no downtime, because they use regenerative medicine. The future of medicine is here, and the local medical professionals at QC Kinetics can get you started with a free consultation. They have clinics in Aurora and Superior. If your shoulder, back is always hurting, if it hurts to walk or lift something, you need to check this out and get lasting relief. Do it now so you can enjoy the Colorado summertime like you deserve. Next generation joint pain relief is here at QC Kinetics. 303-900-8986. That's 303-900-8986. Get a free consultation. 303-900-8986 or visit painfreecolorado.com. All right. Coming up next, Gary Marx, just back from Ukraine. Going to get some details you're not going to hear anywhere else. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Want to take your favorite radio station wherever you go? Now, there's an app for that. No matter where you are, stream your favorite shows. Tap the app to listen to podcasts, text message your favorite local hosts, call the show, get the latest headlines, and enter contests to win prizes. All in the palm of your hand. Available now for iOS and Android devices in the App Store or Google Play. And best of all, it's free. Download today.
At this hour in Berlin, I'm Trent Murray, and here are the top stories we're following. Well, if you plan to leave your house this week, you most likely will have to deal with some part of the holiday travel rush. In New York, Haley Bianco has more on what to expect.
Millions of Americans are getting out of town sometime over the holiday period, meaning we'll see busy roads, packed airports, and crowded train stations. Motor Club AAA projects that about 70.9 million travelers will head 50 miles or more from their homes over a 9-day holiday travel period. That surpasses pre-pandemic numbers for the U.S. holiday. And the Transportation Security Administration expects to screen over 32 million individuals in airports from June 27th through July 8th, which is up 5.4% from last year's numbers.
Over 120 people have died in India after a stampede at a Hindu religious festival. Crowds gathered in the north of the country were crushed at the event, with authorities saying they were investigating safety failures in the lead up to the disaster. Initial reports suggest the festival was given permission to host 80,000 people, but 250,000 turned up. And that's what you need to know at this hour. I'm Trent Murray in Berlin on Salem News Channel.
Are you?
Yeah.
Man, this song, hanging out with my kids, we were wrapped in about a week ago.
Yeah.
And we brought a little waterproof speaker and we're playing it. And this song came on and the kids dancing to it.
Such a good song.
It is.
Yeah. And so again, I'm doing bar trivia tonight, and this is going to help with one of the answers tonight. I'm playing this one tonight.
Where? Where are you doing bar trivia?
I'm at Dry Dock tonight. Starts at 6 o'clock, basically Hamden Chambers. I'm at Dry Dock South. So
Dry Dock, 6 p.m.
Yeah, Hamden Chambers. It's a really, really nice bar. Great crowd. And one of the cool things is I'm hoping that my buddy Woody, who's one of the bartenders, is going to be there because I do something for him when he's there. He's in a smaller band, fairly well known in Colorado, called Lolo Rising. And some of their songs are freaking tastic. So I normally, when Woody's in the house, I will close my show with a song from his band.
Nice.
Yeah, because again, if you know, you know. Yeah.
Well, I might have to make it out there. This would be fun.
I'd love to see it.
I don't have to do show prep, and I don't got to get up at 4 a.m. tomorrow.
And they have beer, and it's cold.
Now you're speaking my language, Billy. All right. We're going to get to Gary Marx here. Gary Marx is the president and defenders of faith and religious freedom in Ukraine. Great friend. Got to know him over the years. Used to work with Ralph Reed and the Road to Majority and the Faith and Freedom Coalition. And now he's doing work to help pastors in Ukraine. Listen to this pastor in Ukraine.
In that moment, grow up bigger than the war, before the war, because in that moment, I understand we can trust only to God right now. To my brothers and sisters in Christ, I need you to understand that this war is not for a part of the territory. It's about the faith. It's about standing in truth. May Ukraine be a part of your prayer and still support Ukraine. And I believe that we're gonna celebrate the victory of Ukraine in the future. And this is gonna be the victory of God, not just soldiers of Ukraine.
You know, there's a lot of debate over spending in Ukraine, strategy in Ukraine, but you don't hear a lot of discussion about what's happening to Christians in Ukraine. Gary Marx, president of Defenders of Faith and Religious Freedom in Ukraine. Thanks so much for being on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. It's great to be with you, Jeff and Bill. I appreciate the intro and sharing those words from my good friend, Mark Sergeyev. He's a youth minister and worship leader. He's kind of known as like the Chris Tomlin of Ukraine for those that follow, evangelical worship music. So he's well known, and he saw it firsthand when the Russian aggressors came into Melitopol and confiscated his father's church, turned it into a Russian community center. This is what's happening all over the Russian occupied areas. Religious freedom is being trampled upon, and especially any evangelicals. Evangelicals are looked at as American agents. And, for those that live in Colorado, what I call Red Dawn country, they've understood for a long time that this Russian aggression is back in the same way we saw in the Cold War.
Yeah, Gary, I've seen this kind of revisionism take place. Maybe Putin's not so bad. He's embraced some traditional values. He doesn't allow kind of like the radical LGBTQ agenda to take place there. But Russia is no friend to the evangelical movement, to religious freedom. Can you give some people, some details on what's happening to the church in Ukraine under occupation by Russia?
Yeah, that's a great question. I literally just got back Monday night from attending the National Prayer Breakfast in Ukraine. Like our United States National Prayer Breakfast, it is the largest prayer breakfast in Europe because Ukraine has had such a robust religious freedom movement going back to immediately after the wall fell. It's really the Bible Belt of Europe. It's the cradle of religious freedom in Europe. Every religion has thrived there, and in particular, a lot of evangelical faiths, Baptists and Pentecostals and Presbyterians and all sorts. And And that foundation has made them seem more Western to Putin and therefore a threat. Because ultimately, whenever faith thrives, people of faith are loyal to God first, not the state. Ukraine has religious freedom. Russia has state-controlled religion, and that's very different. The religion in Russia is only the Russian Orthodox Church, which is subservient to Putin, and that's the only religion that's allowed. That's why whenever Russians take territory in Ukraine, those churches are confiscated, pastors are persecuted, 30 pastors have been killed, 640 churches have been damaged or destroyed. It is not at all how people try to say that, hey, Putin is just a friend of conservative values. That's not the kind of conservative value that I think most Americans would understand.
No, Gary, you're by no means a progressive. In fact, you're one of the most conservative guys I know. You worked with Ralph Reed and Road to Majority and the Moral Majority and all that stuff for years. Look, I want to have an honest conversation. Conservatives are very weary about what's happening in Ukraine for a few reasons. One, the Joe Biden, Hunter Biden connection, Burisma. That number two, the funding that's going there and just what seems to be unaccountable spending on this war. And then number three, weariness coming from Afghanistan withdrawal, Iraq, foreign intervention in wars where we send our sons and daughters to die and it has no direct benefit to the United States. So what is your message to conservatives? You've been on the ground in Ukraine in light of those three issues on why the United States should be investing here.
Yeah, what I've seen is that Ukrainian families are just like our families, just like your family, Jeff. They want to practice their faith, follow the dictates of their conscience. They want to go to work. They want to raise their families in peace and quiet. And that was all destroyed in 2014 when the Russians began taking Crimea, and then again with this full-scale invasion 2 years ago. They have the same conservative instincts that we do. I know, Jeff, like you'd love to just be out on your ranch and you raise your family and be free of any of these concerns. We would, as conservatives, we'd love to just turn inward and do our thing and not be concerned about government. Unfortunately, we live in a sinful world, and the price of liberty is eternal vigilance. And without American leadership, we don't have the Pax Americana in the world today. There is a rising axis of evil that is encroaching and that is coming and is at war with us, whether we like it or not. I would love to go away and just enjoy being with my family, but that axis of evil, Russia, Iran, North Korea, China, Hamas, they're coming for us. And the axis of freedom, Ukraine, the United States, Israel, NATO, Taiwan, South Korea, we have to stand up against this aggression. And that's just the price of liberty.
Oh, but Tucker says the subways are great in Russia. I'm sorry, I kid. Hey, Gary Marx, president of Defender of Faith and Religious Freedom in Ukraine, joining Jeff and Bill live. I've got a kind of a two-part question for you. I'll follow up here in a second. But first, I want to know, what do Americans not understand about the conflict going on between Russia and Ukraine from the Ukrainian side? What is the message that Americans are not hearing? Why are we not seeing this kind of drumbeat of support we normally would have for this type of burgeoning democracy?
Yeah, a couple things that I definitely saw in my visit and able to speak at that prayer breakfast in Kyiv, travel in the country. A lot of folks don't understand that there is now a land of modern day martyrs who have been standing up there for their faith. At the prayer breakfast, 2 Greek Catholic priests were there at the front table. They had just been released the night before in a negotiation with the Russian government. This is not just evangelicals that are being persecuted in the occupied areas. It's also Greek Catholics and brothers and sisters of every stripe. This has been called a holy war by Putin and endorsed by the Russian Orthodox Church. They have to come and take Kyiv, Ukraine, because they look at it like a lot of folks look at Jerusalem. It's the second most holy city in Europe after Rome. So there's a spiritual element to this that I think most Americans don't understand. And when you're there, you begin to understand there are dark forces at work, and it's very evident, as you deal with the missile attacks every day and so forth. Second thing that I would point out, most Americans don't understand that while there are maybe 100+ hostages that Hamas has taken to Gaza, the Russian government has forcibly taken and removed from families, on estimate, 15 to 20,000 children. They've been taken from families in occupied areas, taken back to Russia to begin a process of indoctrination into Russian family life and Russian government. This is, parents send their kids to school, and then they go to pick their kids up in school and find out they've been taken to Russia. That's not conservative family values.
No.
It's just, it was horrifying when I came to understand, and this was a focus of prayer at the breakfast, the Bring Back Our Kids campaign. And there's process for negotiations right now, just as there are in Gaza about hostages. But it's of a different diabolical nature when you think about what parents are facing there.
Yeah, and that is the easiest way to try and bring a country to the knees, is to attack the kids. And that's why we see Putin attacking civilian structures and infrastructure, not military installations. Now, I want to go back to what you were talking earlier about, Gary Marx, joining Jeff and Bill, President of the Defenders of Faith and Religious Freedom in Ukraine, about NATO. You talked about the idea that there is a growing axis of evil. However, in America, the winds have changed. We, at least some people in some parties, and even some presidential candidates, believe that NATO has outlived its usefulness, that it shouldn't be around, and we shouldn't worry about this international treaty organization anymore because it doesn't help us, and they're not paying their way. And I mean, we had one presidential candidate say that he would let Putin do whatever the hell he wanted to with some of those allies if he didn't feel they had paid their bills. Can you talk to us about the efficacy of NATO? Is it still needed? Why not?
Yeah, I would argue it's been one of the most successful treaty organizations in the history of mankind, in defeating the Cold War axis and continuing to maintain stability in what had been a part of the world that had been, dealt with the most wars in all of human history. They have to do more. They are finally now, all those members in this last year are getting to their commitment of 2% GDP to defense spending. And indeed, they've been growing. They just added Finland and Sweden. So this is an organization that has been built and is ready now for such a time as this. Because ultimately, if we lose in Ukraine, we have a front lines that are the Baltics, Romania, Poland. Like Speaker Mike Johnson has said, his son that's at the Naval Academy now will be, possibly on the front lines there if we do not support what NATO is doing and, in providing defense and support the weapons programs that Ukraine needs and is able to use to great effect. They are holding their own. And it's because NATO and the U.S. have stood with them.
Gary Marx, I want to ask you how Trump, and I think it's going to be Trump in the next administration, brings this to conclusion. Are we going to end up in a 20-year battle like we did in Afghanistan? How do we get out of this? And Gary, I don't want my sons or daughters going to war in Ukraine against Russia. I don't think it's worth it. I appreciate the defense of democracy, but whether or not I'm willing to sacrifice my children in defense of Ukraine, I don't know if I can get there. So how does Trump bring this to conclusion?
Yeah, the good news, Jeff, is I don't think President Biden or President Trump is asking for that. And I think we're all working towards peace and providing Ukraine everything they need to get to victory and peace so that that does not happen. Ultimately, we have to watch, I think, what President Trump always does. That's the most important thing when it comes to foreign policy with him. Not so much what he says, look at what he tangibly does. He stood by Speaker Johnson when that funding package came up and told the Marjorie Taylor Greens of the party, sit down and be quiet. This is important ultimately for freedom, so that way we don't have to send our boys and girls overseas. So, this is something that it's hard to know if Trump wins what negotiations might look like, but we need to all start praying right now, because it is going to take the hand of God at work to do something beyond maybe what our narrow human vision can provide as the answer right now today.
Yeah, it's a very unique time in American history. I was talking with Eric Prince yesterday, founder of Blackwater, when I was filling in for Jenna Ellis on her TV show, and I asked Eric Prince this question. It seems like we're more interested as a country in exit strategies out of wars than necessarily declaring total victory. And as a result, you end up with these kind of ongoing skirmishes that just continue to go. But at the same time, I don't want to end up in a war with Russia over Ukraine. I lost friends in Iraq. So I think there's a little bit of fatigue there. And I think, Gary Marx, your call for us to pray. I think Donald Trump's leadership would be much better in dealing with Russia and achieving peace in Ukraine than Joe Biden. I don't think Joe Biden, first of all, I don't think he knows where he is or what time of day it is, but I don't think they have any plan for victory there. I'll give you the final word, Gary Marx.
Yeah, I would just ask your listeners, be praying for the peace in Ukraine, be praying for our Christian brothers and sisters, especially those that are behind the lines, pastors that have been imprisoned, churches that have been confiscated. Pray that they're able to have religious freedom spread once again so that the gospel can flourish. I think that's ultimately, what this axis of evil is standing against, whether it's Russia, North Korea, Iran, or China, and Hamas. There is a battle taking place, and we have to do everything we can to support our Ukrainian brothers and sisters so that they can lead the fight. And we don't have to send our boys and girls next year to Poland, Romania, or anywhere else.
Gary Marx, president of Defenders of Faith and Religious Freedom in Ukraine, the website defendersoffaithukraine.com if you want to learn more. Vladimir Putin, no friend to religious freedom, no friend to the advancement of the church. And I appreciate you calling him out on that, standing with Christians in Ukraine, and joining us today to give us insight on your trip. Gary, thanks so much for being on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, guys. Anytime.
All right. When we continue in the 8 o'clock hour, Adam Frisch, Democrat candidate for Congressional District 3, joins us. He's got a big new piece in the Washington Post. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Want to take your favorite radio station wherever you go? Now, there's an app for that. No matter where you are, stream your favorite shows. Tap the app to listen to podcasts, text message your favorite local hosts, call the show, get the latest headlines, and enter contests to win prizes. All in the palm of your hand. Available now for iOS and Android devices in the App Store or Google Play. And best of all, it's free. Download today.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. In just a few minutes, Adam Frisch, the Democrat candidate for Congressional District 3, is going to join the Jeff and Bill Show. Here he is yesterday on his X account.
Bullying politics, the skating me out was rarely done. It has been apparent to me for some time, and the debates only reinforced it. Neither candidate is fit for president. We need a president that can unite America to realize our nation's unlimited potential. We deserve better. President Biden should withdraw from this race. I thank President Biden for his years of service, but the path ahead requires a new generation of leadership to take our country forward.
Fascinating. He's even took it to the Washington Post in a big editorial. Joe Biden should step aside now, basically making the argument he's driven over 432 miles just in the past since the debate. And he's been hearing from people across the district that they are frustrated with presidential choices. He has no sway with the Republicans, but he is calling for President Biden to withdraw.
You know what I want to know is, what's he going to do when the DNC money now dries up? Because you know they're not very happy about this.
I mean, look, this is, for those of us in politics, this is fascinating because Republicans, we all fight publicly, but Democrats fight privately, and this is one of those rare occasions where they are fighting publicly.
Yes, they are. This is going to be interesting.
Wow, this is going to be a historic interview. You're not going to want to miss it. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS. Adam Frisch next.
8 a.m. the Mile High City on this Wednesday, July 3rd. Happy birthday, America. Tomorrow will be July 4th. Billy and I will be out tomorrow. I'm taking a little day off, but we'll be back on the 5th.
America doesn't look a day over 100. They're great. We age well.
Coming up on 150 years here, so
Wow.
not too long.
That is crazy. It's amazing that this weird experiment has lasted this long, too. Because, functionally, it wouldn't work based on how governmental systems, we'll talk about this a little bit with Jenna Ellis later on the show. Yes, Jenna Ellis also joining the show. Adam Frisch, Jenna Ellis. Yeah, who's got the big names? That's right here. Okay, now, it's talk about how it was such a unique prospect. The idea of setting up a governmental system at that time this way. Because if you would have gone anywhere else, and you're like, wait, you're going to let the people choose? Hang on. Have you thought this through?
Yeah.
I mean, there's no way.
The divine right of kings.
Yes. And it worked out. It works out really, really well when the people with all the money get to make the decisions. Works out well for them, not so much for people down below. And
Many
it was
could say
interesting.
that's pretty much what's happened in America.
I was going right there, my friend. You and me. You and me. That's exactly it. Exactly.
Wow. Denver International Airport, by the way, bracing for nearly 1 million passengers around
Dang.
July 4th. Wow.
Oof.
It's crazy.
That's one of the
All right.
reasons to make sure you're the VIP and you get those lounge seats. 'cause
That's right.
Much better.
That's right.
Much better. You know, have you ever gone through the airport and gone by one of those airport bars and ever seen it empty? Never.
No,
Doesn't
it's
matter.
true.
It's never empty.
Yep.
Which says
6
a lot.
a.m.
Yep. Someone's
Especially
there.
if you're on vacation, man. I get
Oh,
that.
yeah.
You're like, start the Bloody Marys. Early.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Yes. Who has any responsibilities today? Not this guy.
Right.
All right, let's get going.
All right, Adam Frisch coming up here in a second after the news with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, good morning, guys. 68 and sunny in Denver, expecting highs in the lower 90s today. The 7-10 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story. Holiday travel shifts into high gear today. The Department of Transportation warns wait times will be long. Driving through the mountains, fill the tank, pack plenty of granola bars. The cheapest gas in the area, according to Gas Buddy, $2.83 at Costco in Parker and $2.83 at Sam's Club in Aurora. The Eisenhower Tunnel is likely to reach capacity with up to 52,000 cars passing through this weekend. DIA expecting nearly 1 million passengers, as Jeff just mentioned, with some new train cars running. 66 state law enforcement agencies will be spreading out to keep the roads and highways safe from drunk drivers. Hand over the keys and don't drink and drive. And if you're driving a station wagon with paneling on the side, don't try to race supermodels in red sports cars.
This is the new Wagon Queen family truckster. This is a damn fine automobile, if you want my honest opinion. Beats the hell out of the sports wagon, but I want to make you happy, huh?
Ah, yes, the original vacation movies, the greatest, one of the best, I think. Also this morning, Denver police looking for a white 2022 GMC Sierra truck, license plate CYTZ04, after a hit and run last night. Vice President Kamala Harris reportedly the top choice to replace Joe Biden if he decides to drop out. Biden campaign sources tell Reuters that some top Democrats are considering alternatives to Biden, and they say Kamala has the highest polling numbers. Colorado's Adam Frisch, a Democrat on the Western Slope, getting in on the act.
We need a president that can unite America to realize our nation's unlimited potential. We deserve better. President Biden should withdraw from this race.
And once again, he joins Jeff and Bill coming up. But I doubt Kamala Harris will ever be on the show, even though, we really should try to get her on the Jeff and Billy show.
The majority of us believe in freedom and equality. But these extremists, as they say, they're not like us. No, they not. There's a full-on attack on our fundamental freedoms. The freedom to vote. Yep. The freedom to love who you love. The freedom to be safe from gun violence. The freedom for a woman to make decisions about her own body, not having her government tell her what to do.
Can't do any of that. She needs to be on the show next week. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is defending himself against allegations of sexual assault by a former babysitter. The allegations being reported in a new Vanity Fair article claim they say that the independent presidential candidate assaulted a babysitter at his home in 1998. Kennedy responded in a podcast on Tuesday that it was garbage. Former President Trump's sentencing in the campaign derailment show trial is being postponed until September. This comes after Trump's lawyers filed a letter with Judge Marsham looking to set aside the recent guilty verdict. The sentencing will now be delayed until September 18th at the earliest. The U.S. is preparing to announce a $2.3 billion security aid package for Ukraine. And it's the 60th anniversary of the Civil Rights Act, the landmark civil rights bill that was signed into law in 1964, outlawed discrimination based on race and dismantled Jim Crow laws. The Supreme Court is deciding not to hear a case over whether social media sites should be held responsible for what users say. It involves a Texas teen who was groomed by his science teacher over Snapchat. The Brewers scored 2 runs in the top of the 9th to beat the Rockies 4-3 at Coors Field last night. They snap a 2-game win streak. Tonight, the Brew Crew back in town. Well, back at it in town still. They slept here last night, and they continue the series in downtown Denver at Coors Field tonight against the Rockies as they try to get back on track. 66 in Aurora, 65 in North Glen, and 68 in Denver. Jeff and Bill continue Wednesday, Holiday Road.
Now, I'd like my Antarctic Blue Super Sports Wagon right now, and if you can't get it for me, I'm going to take my business elsewhere.
Let's go. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
710 5-day forecast. Warm, near 90 today. A couple of isolated thunderstorms late. Lows tonight in the 50s. Breezy northwest winds. It'll be cooler. Your 4th of July will only be upper 70s. Isolated thunderstorms. 50s Thursday night. Lower 80s Friday. 80s for the weekend. A few widely scattered showers and thunderstorms through Sunday. Weather sponsored by Branch Planning. Some income annuities are paying 25 to 45% more than last year. Get a free retirement review by calling Branch Planning today at 720-651-9800. Find out more at branchplanning.com. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Joining the Jeff and Bill show is Adam Frisch. Adam is a Democrat candidate for U.S. House of Representatives, Congressional District 3 here in Colorado. It's the Western Slope. He has an opinion piece in the Washington Post published yesterday. Joe Biden should step aside now. He mentions it. Since the debate, he's added 432 miles of driving, talking with people all over the Western Slope, Democrats, Republicans, and independents, not D.C. pundits or political insiders. He's generally hearing the same thing, that Joe Biden needs to step aside.
Jeff, he's not on the air with us yet. Did you think he knows that Democrats aren't supposed to speak ill of the president? But do you understand that that hurts funding and that they're not very happy about that? I mean, I'm just curious. What do you think?
It is very unique because Republicans, we fight all the time out in public, right?
Yes.
We're like, I don't like the color of your shirt. We got emails this morning about that.
My Make America Great Again cowboy hat is bigger than your Make America Great Again cowboy hat. Exactly.
And Democrats are known to have their differences a little bit more behind the scenes, but this is interesting. He writes in his opinion piece, this is President Biden's moment and his biggest test. He should put personal ambition aside and then stand up and announce he will withdraw from consideration. The deep Democrat bench should work to nominate a younger slate. We can then join together to focus on the problems and solutions that are most important to our country. Joining the show is Adam Frisch. Adam, thanks so much for being on the Jeff and Bill show.
Yeah, thank you. Morning.
Good morning. Happy summer to everybody.
So let's dive into this opinion piece. You're really kind of stepping out in leadership here. From my opinion, you're asking your own presidential nominee, top of the ticket, to step aside. What did you hear talking to people on the Western Slope?
Yeah, it's great. Listen, we have our district bigger than the state of Pennsylvania to bring everyone kind of up to speed. We have all of Wyoming, a third of the Wyoming border, all of Utah border, and then obviously the from Cortez, the whole San Luis Valley and Pueblo. And so, 50,000 miles. I've driven 57,000 miles actually in the past 2 years. Ranchers and farmers, domestic energy. I'm very focused on producers. And I spend a good chunk of my time talking to independents, which I was for 20 years, and Republicans and independents. And people are frustrated with both parties. It's kind of pox in both houses. They're frustrated that they're not what the Democrats are talking about in D.C. are not what the Democratic voters in Western Colorado are talking about. What the Republican leadership's talking about is not what the Republicans in Pueblo and elsewhere are talking about. And I think that connection is just not there. They also want someone to stand up. As I say, courage is the most important trait. Everything else falls into there. And sometimes you just have to stand up, or a lot of times you just have to stand up and say what you believe.
What was it about Joe Biden's performance during the debate last Thursday that was particularly troubling to you?
Well, listen, I think we need to go back to when President Biden was talking about being a transitional president to the next generation. And, I took him at his word. And then sure enough, a couple of years later, he decides to kind of put an asterisk on that transition. And I thought then and there, it should have been a great time, as the Republican Party did, go through an open competitive primary and let the voters have a say. And, it was certainly frustrating to see the Democratic Party go to Florida and shut down the primary and some other states and try to quash that conversation. And, I don't like monopolies in business, and I don't like monopolies in politics. And I like competition. I think it's important for people to have a chance to see which of the best ideas and people survive. Going forward to last Thursday, there's a laundry list of stuff, obviously. I would say that anyone on either side who starts arguing about their handicap in the middle of a real concern in our country about the mental health crisis in rural America, about how costly everything is from childcare, healthcare, people are just not focused on that debate stage about where I think real America is.
Now, yesterday we hosted Ted Trimpa, Democrat strategist here in Colorado, and Ted echoed a lot of the same concerns you had, that Joe Biden should have been a transitional president. We've got a great bench of young Democrat governors coming up. We should have had a primary. We should have put them out there, allowed them to compete on the national stage. But then he says at this point, once you put the jersey on, you go all the way. Why is Ted Trimpa wrong in that analysis?
Well, I think he is making a case that a lot of other people are making. I used to spend 12 years in high finance and risk management. And you realize that you can have a small win, you can have a small loss, you can have a big win, or you can have a big loss. And we are facing, for the country and the Democratic Party, a really, really big loss. And so the trends are set. It's time to figure out in a competitive way to go forward. Bigger picture, I do want to say one of the reasons I was hesitant to speaking out was I've spent my entire journey since February of 22 not focused on the Democratic Party, not focused on the Republican Party, but focused on the voters and the families of CD3. And I said it very clearly a couple of years ago, and I say it now. I'm not focused on who people voted for in 2016 and 2020. I don't care how they voted for other people in the 22 ballot. I don't care how they vote for other people in the 24 ballot. I just want them to focus on who do they want in the House of Representatives representing their families. And so it's a little uncomfortable, but I think it's important to stand up and actually get into a little bit of this national politics. I'm hoping to get over this hump over the next couple of days and kind of get back into that whole conversation, because my focus remains on how do the producers of steel and Pueblo and the producers of beef and food in Western Slope are looked after, because there's certainly this rural-urban divide between consumers on the Front Range and the people that are producing how everyone else is living.
Talking with Adam Frisch, he's a candidate, the Democrat candidate for Congressional District 3 here in Colorado, which is the Western Slope, an opinion piece in the Washington Post yesterday. Joe Biden should step aside now. It's been about 15 hours, Adam, since that went out, and I'm guessing you're well connected within the Democrat network. What are you hearing from other Democrats? Are they supportive of your leadership, or do they feel like this is a distraction and wish you would just get behind Joe Biden?
I'm not sure how connected I am. When I launched my campaign in 2022, I knew nothing. I didn't know a lot about the Democratic State Party and the National Party. As I said, I was independent for 25 years. If there was a Get Stuff Done party, I've said for 25 years I'd be in the Get Stuff Done party. Anyways, I've heard from a lot of people. Listen, certainly on Twitter, there's some people that are really upset with me, but with all due respect, I don't spend a lot of time watching them. I have had a lot of people reach out that are either fans of Joe Biden or not, but they just realize they see the writing on the wall, and they've been really supportive of, unfortunately, only in politics is the obvious stating a courageous act. I mean, the bar in this space of politics and public policy, I'm learning, is really, really low. For 3 or 4 years, a lot of Republicans would get beaten up for saying one thing privately and another thing publicly about their candidate. And now the Democratic Party seems to be in the exact same situation. And I just think it's important for people to stand up and say what they believe. I've had some national people reach out to me. They're understanding of where I am, and they also understand where I am. And I think we're on the, I don't want to make too big a deal out of my comments, but we're on the right side of history. I have a feeling in 5 or 7 days, there's going to be more people that are going to be finding their clarity and their backbone.
Adam Frisch, candidate for Congressional District 3, joining Jeff and Bill live. We sure appreciate your time. Let's talk about the idea of removing Biden and choosing another candidate. There are a long list of candidates. I don't want you to have to tell us your favorite or anything like that. But what I'm curious about is, do you think Democrat voters would adopt somebody new at the top of the ticket, and could they defeat Trump? And the reason I ask that is, while the person could be more attractive, you're not letting Democrat voters have a voice. And we all remember during the campaign where Biden was chosen, there were all sorts of allegations about the party coming in and making a choice and pushing people like Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren to the side because Sleepy Joe was going to be the answer. How do Democrat voters that really looked at almost a civil war internally with the party power structure choosing a candidate, how do they accept that in this case?
I'm not looking through all these conversations, and thank you for asking, through a political analyst. That's not my job. I can just look through 57,000 miles of talking to a lot of people. People like competition. People like to have choice. They want to have the freedom to make up their own decisions as opposed to having them force-fed upon them out of Denver or D.C. And that's one of the reasons I am running, and I look forward to having more debates with my opponent as we get into it. It's certainly not helpful, I think, for another candidate to skip 6 out of the 7 of their own primary debates. While I'm running around talking to people from all over the district, I'm on the show with you and happy to come back. I've had some other conversations with a lot. I was at the Colorado Cattlemen's Association meeting. I'm getting out in front of everyone. Back to the question at hand, which is, I'm not here to pick winners and losers. That's not the job of me. I'm trying to just make a case to the Democratic Party, as I've tried to do for 2 years at different levels. Open up the darn floodgates and let people stand up and make a case for the voters, and let freedom ring. And that's not happening. And how I just don't think, if they do decide to make a change, and this is obviously a conversation they should have done 2 years ago, they need to make it an open conversation to allow the same 10 or 15 people everyone's been talking about. I don't have any favorites right now. As I said before, I'm excited to get back to focusing solely on trying to figure out how to get mental health care access to rural Colorado. I'm trying to figure out how to lower expenses of childcare and health care and cost of groceries. That's what I'm focused on.
Adam Frisch, candidate for Congressional District 3, joining Jeff and Bill live. Before his opponent, oddly. That's weird. Okay, Adam, and so what you outlined there, I appreciate, is the idea of the freedom and the choice. And I think that's where the Democrats trying to replace Biden right now are going to run into problem, is the absence of that freedom and choice. And I agree with you. This is a conversation that should have been done 2 years ago. There should have been a primary that Joe Biden, when he talked about being a transitional president. And I think that's kind of where we're getting into. But let's put that aside just for a second. We appreciate you joining us and repeating the statements that you made publicly about wanting to replace Joe Biden. You talked a little bit about some of the things that are important to your district. What I want to ask you is, what are the issues that you're hearing from the voters in your district that many people don't think are important? And what I mean is, it's viewed as a more Republican district. So many times they view, well, that means it ticks all of those Republican boxes. What are some of the issues that you're discovering that wouldn't necessarily be considered always conservative or liberal, but really do matter to the moms and dads that are sitting at the kitchen table inside your district?
Bingo. This is why we've been able to do so well, and everyone laughed at us when they thought we were going to lose by 40,000 votes last cycle, and we ended up having the closest race. My mom calls it the pro-normal party coalition. I've been focusing on that. And it is about, number one, the cost of goods, housing, education, healthcare, childcare. They're talking about securing the border. Even in my most conservative counties, and we have 27 counties, and we have counties that are 85% Republican and 85% Democrat, and I show up in all of them, and I express the exact same conversations. Most people want to see the border secured, but they also understand there's a huge economic opportunity that our country needs to make sure that we process people legally, and we go through that process. Obviously, there's a whole conversation as well about water out in the western slope in southern Colorado. That's something that's really, really important. We also have to make sure that our manufacturing base, like the steel workers down in Pueblo, and the manufacturers on the western slope and Grand Junction are looked after. People know that they have clean air and clean water. It's quite ironic that the people down in Denver are giving grief to Moffat County and Rio Blanco County for producing energy, while the cleanest air is out in the western slope, and Denver County is about to be done by the EPA because of the smog, and they're actually having the conversations about having to use a more expensive type of gas, and all of a sudden you see the governor and elected officials down there cause a muckus. I just think it's a little hypocritical or ironic that the cleanest air is in the western slope, where people are producing energy, producing food on the tables, and producing water and producing steel in the heartland of Pueblo, Colorado.
Talking with Adam Frisch, Democrat candidate for Congressional District 3 here in Colorado. Your opponent in this race is Jeff Hurd. He's the Republican nominee. We've invited Jeff on at least a half dozen times, has not joined the show yet. Why are you better than Jeff Hurd to represent the people of Congressional District 3?
Well, as a microcosm, I'm here talking to you now, right? Listen, at the end of the day, people want authenticity and sincerity, and they want to stand up and push back against the state capital of Denver, but mostly in D.C. And they want someone to come back and not focus on any party, even though it's quote unquote their party or it's the majority party, quote unquote, of our district, right? This district is 22% Democrat, 32% registered Republicans, and 45% registered independents, where I was for 25 years. They want someone to stand up and have the courage to push back against D.C. And I do not think they want a corporate lawyer that is backed by corporate PAC money. That's not how we're going to lower the cost of what everyone is spending money on. And they also want courage. They want someone to stand up and fight for their district and their family. And that's something that seems to get lost. Listen, Jeff, we know each other. I think he's a good father and a good husband, and I say that with sincerity. But at the end of the day, courage is what this political conversation is lacking in so many places around the country. And I'm going there to work with Democrats and Republicans. When I'm focusing on ag, ranching, and farming, and I'm focusing on natural resources, and I'm focused on how important domestic energy is, I'm probably going to be spending most of my time working with Republican caucuses, because that is really where the Democratic Party has basically botched rural America over the past 30 years. Bill Clinton won half of the rural counties in 1996. Rural America was 50-50 in 1996. And Joe Biden in 2020 wins 10% of rural America. And Colorado's 3rd district is mostly rural or small town. And Pueblo in Grand Junction, they have 150,000 people. The fights they have there are they a big small town or a small big town? But it goes back to having the courage to buck your party and focus on the district's needs. And I'm the only candidate running who's willing to do that and has a long history of doing that.
Adam, to that point, we do have a question from a caller. Are you willing to take it? They want to ask you about how you're going to work on the other side. Do you have a quick second to take a question from a caller?
I will stay on as long as you will have me.
Great. All right. Frank Denver, you're on the Jeff and Bill show with Adam Frisch. Go ahead, Frank.
Adam, it sounds refreshing, but, you know, we've observed the Democrats in the last decade be totally ruled by management a la Pelosi. I wonder how long you could hold out. How many years do you think you could hold out with this stiffly independent and for the people mentality before you cave to political money and funding and pressure?
No, Frank, thanks for asking the question. Listen, you asked the number one question I get asked by a lot of my Republican friends, new and old. They want to know, how can anybody show up as a freshman from either party and stand up to them? And so all I can tell people is there's not a single person in D.C. That votes for me. I'm going to be voted in, and I'm going to stay there for a little bit of time. Listen, I'm supportive of term limits, so we'll figure out how long I want to be there. But first, I got to get there. People are frustrated with kind of the corporatization from both parties of how much influence is there, and not taking corporate PAC money, I think, is a real strong statement. President Biden's administration wanted to come out and ban export of liquid natural gas. And I had a public opinion piece in the paper how I think that's a horrible idea for national security. It's a horrible idea for the climate crisis. It's a really horrible idea for the jobs in the economy and the price of energy. I've come out strongly against the Biden administration clamping down on grazing ability for our ranchers and farmers. And, you know, there are 5 Democrats representing representing Trump districts, and there's 18 Republicans representing Biden districts. And you look at those 20-some people, and they are focused on their district. They're not focused on the party. And my number one caucus I'm going to go join is the Problem Solvers Caucus, which is 30 Democrats and 30 Republicans. The second caucus I'm hoping to join is the Western Caucus, which I hope they let me in. There's 80 people in the Western Caucus. There's Mary Patola from Alaska, Democrat, and 79 Republicans. And I want to be there because I'm focused on ranching. I'm focused on grazing. I'm focused on energy, domestic energy, and I'm focused on farmers. And people are aware of where I am. And I'm getting beat up here and there in social media, but I'm focused on the district. I'm just going to ask people to earn their trust and prove them right that they made the right decision. But I appreciate your skepticism because there's a lot of pressure that comes down, but we've had the ability to raise the money. We can be independent, and I'm not getting in here to just kind of ride the Washington, D.C. away for 40, 50 years. I've had a very successful business career. I've had some stumbles as well. You know, some time involved in finance, some time involved in construction. And if I don't make it very long there, I have a beautiful family to come back to and focus on figuring out how else I can serve my community when I'm done with D.C.
Frank, what do
you... the public opinion piece, if you can take the public feelings and sentiment to Washington, the country, and the locale area that you represent wins rather than the national politics.
Bingo. And thank you for being open to my conversation and listening to what I'm trying to share with a lot of people. I just, you know, again, I kind of got put into, or I raised my hand about this whole national conversation. I'm very excited to get back in the bread pickup truck and just drive around the district and continue to work with ranchers and farmers and small business owners and the steel workers and the manufacturers on the Western Slope as well, and supporting those that are working on solar and wind, but also natural gas and a little bit of oil, and making sure that we have a strong domestic energy economy for our country and for the Western Slope of Colorado.
Frank, go ahead, Adam. I'll let you finish.
No, I was going to say, we should not be exporting our guilt. We should be exporting Colorado's good energy.
That's a great line.
That is
Frank,
really
thanks so much for the phone call. I appreciate it. Adam, you're in one of the probably 2 most competitive congressional districts. You know, Congressional District 4 is not going to be affected too much by Joe Biden's decision to remain on the ticket or not. Congressional District 1, Congressional District 6, all those. But I think 3 and 8 have the most to gain or lose based upon what the Democrats decide to do at the top of the ticket. Have you heard from Yadira Caraveo, Congresswoman from Congressional District 8, since the debate?
No. And it's not that I'm pro or anti Yadira. She's doing her job out there. She has the district, I think, of a suburban and urban and some ranchers and farmers. I have 50% of the state that I need to focus on, and those other 7 districts have the other 50%. I will argue I have the most beautiful 50% that we're going to be representing with everything that we have out here. And I just want to get back to Team CD3, and we're going to be focused on that. And I will work with anyone who's in the Colorado delegation, Democrat or Republican, as long as they're focused on Colorado issues. I'm going to be working with them. And someone did ask me when we did chase, with respect, Lauren Boebert out of the district. And she's over there, and she obviously is probably on a pretty easy streak going in there. Did you ever think, what do you think about working with Representative Boebert? I'm like, well, that was never really part of the plan. But as long as she's focused on Colorado issues, I'll work with her. And I assume that hopefully she'll work with me when we're focused on Colorado issues, because the Eastern Plains and the Western Slope have a lot in common with ranchers and farmers, and producers and domestic energy. And those are really, really important for our country. And those are really, really important for our state. And those are really, really important for our 2 districts.
Adam Frisch, candidate for Congressional District 3, Democrat candidate for Congressional District 3. Thanks so much for being on the Jeff and Bill Show. I appreciate it.
Happy 4th of July. We have a beautiful, strong, proud country, and I'm happy to celebrate it tomorrow with so many people.
Hear, hear. We need those moments to come together and remember what we're fighting for and the freedoms we have in this country. He's got an opinion piece in the Washington Post. Joe Biden should step aside now. His website, if you want to learn more about him, adamforcolorado.com. That's adamforcolorado.com. Give us a call and let us know what you thought of Adam Frisch. We'd love to hear from the callers and listeners, or text us on the 710 KNUS line. Phone number 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971, or text us on the 710 KNUS app. I think there's a lot of different ways you could go with Adam Frisch, right? He's got bold, independent leadership. He's willing to step out in the Washington Post, call for Joe Biden to step aside, break with his own party leadership at the very top. Is that sign of independent leadership? Do you see him as betraying his own party? Or is he just kind of a liberal in disguise? He's doing all this and he's going to vote along with the radical left when he gets into office. Let me know. 303-696-1971. We'll continue with the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour in Berlin, I'm Trent Murray, and here are the top stories we're following. Police in Australia have launched a search for a 12-year-old child that was reportedly attacked and taken by a crocodile. The incident occurred in the far north of the country in a community of just 400 people. A search and rescue team was immediately deployed into the area, with witnesses saying the child was swimming in a creek at the time. The Pentagon says Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin is closely tracking the cases of 2 US military personnel accused of committing sexual crimes against women in Japan. Chris Gilbert has the story.
Details of the latest 2 allegations have come out in just the last week. One involves a 25-year-old man who allegedly approached a local woman in a park, took her to his house and sexually assaulted her. Her family called the police. Another, a 21-year-old troop who allegedly sexually assaulted and injured a woman in May. She called the police herself. Now, Okinawa has experienced a long history of more than 30 years of the US military and personnel becoming implicated in sexual assault allegations against local women, and Defense Chief Lloyd Austin says he's watching these most recent allegations very closely.
And that's what you need to know at this hour. I'm Trent Murray in Berlin on Salem News Channel.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Just wrap Adam Frisch, what do you think of him? Give us a call, 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971. Bill, I got the hat back on.
Yes, you do.
I didn't want to look like a total goober talking to Adam Frisch.
That was good, though. But again, if you did, he couldn't have used the video. That would have been fantastic. Yes, and as Mark Anderson, salesman friend of the show,
are
says,
all having fun with me today.
Yeah, says you're looking like Turd Ferguson.
That's
from
right.
Saturday
If
Night
anyone
Live.
remembers Turd Ferguson, it was
Yes.
played by Norm Macdonald.
Yes.
Here's Turd.
What are you doing? Yeah, I found this backstage. Oversized hat. It's funny. No, it's not. Sure it is. It's funny. It's funny because it's bigger than a normal hat.
I see that. Get back to your podium.
Take a look at that.
Yeah, I see it. Go back to your podium.
Norm's just deadpan dry
Oh,
humor. So
my
underappreciated.
I miss
Yeah,
him. I
do too.
really, really miss him.
Yeah.
I watched the now Kyle Clark and I don't agree on just about anything.
Yeah.
But the other day I was watching Norm Macdonald's moth bit. Do you remember this one?
Yes, yes.
Where he goes on about the moth
Yes.
that has all the problems
Yes.
in his marriage. And
Yep,
it's like
everything's
5 minutes of that. And then the therapist goes, well, why are you stopping by? And he goes, because the light was on.
Yeah, because the light was on.
The whole
Yeah.
joke ends there. So
Yes.
I was dying, and I saw Kyle Clark posted the exact same clip.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So even Norm Macdonald
Good.
can bring all of us together.
There's hope. Speaking of bringing us together, we have Joe from Arvada on the phone line. Now, Joe, you just heard Adam Frisch. It surprised us as much as you that he was on the show here. What did you hear from Adam? What's your reaction to him asking Biden to step aside?
I love it. Like I was saying to you, my heart is so full of joy. Thank you so much, Democrats, and also never Trumpers. I really, really appreciate it. You know, Adam Frisch, you're like the guy that's working on his barn door because he left it open and his horse is gone, and now he's trying to do something about it. It's just hilarious. Next thing you know, Adam will be telling us, hey, we shouldn't let all these illegals in.
Joe, you are fantastic.
Joe, I got to ask you a question. We haven't heard a lot from Donald Trump recently. Is he practicing the old adage, when your enemy is beating himself up, just let him keep going?
Oh, no. What is really happening, everyone has to understand this, is that, of course, the entire insane asylum of the U.S. government is trying desperately to get rid of Donald Trump. And so there's some serious decisions going on. For instance, we have to beef up security. Donald Trump shouldn't go out in public where some sniper can pick him up. The FBI is working on their sites right now.
Yeah, but the scary thing is it could be legal. That's the weird part.
Well, here's the thing. Donald Trump also needs to install Donald Trump Mini-Me. And the reason he has to do it is because if for some weird reason the CIA were to Oswald him, then Mini-Me will take over, and it's going to be worse than Donald Trump.
Who do you think it is? Who do you think the VP pick is?
I think the best answer is J.D. Vance. I have been preaching that from get-go. Remember,
Why do
I'm
you
the
like
guy
him?
that called Donald Trump. I'm the guy that told you he would be our nominee, and he will also be number 47. Oh, and so did he. Number 45 and number 47. Why do I like J.D. Vance? J.D. Vance will destroy any mental midget in the Democrat Party. Kamala, she will be like the Dice-O-Matic. It will be put Kamala in the blender, out comes
I like the Dice-O-Matic reference. That's good. That is really good.
It's going to be
Joe,
so much fun.
JD Vance, I've seen a little bit. I don't know a ton about him. What about Tulsi? Why isn't Tulsi a good fit? She's bucked her own party.
Tulsi-
Seemed to have rejected the deep state too.
Tulsi Gabbard is reminds me a lot of Adam Frisch, although she's a little ahead of Adam Frisch. I mean, she did write the book that you should leave the evil Democrat Party. What did she write that about 6 months ago?
Mm-hmm.
Adam Frisch, you're even 6 months behind Tulsi Gabbard. Oh, my goodness. So here's the thing. She's a good Democrat. That's where you need to start, Democrat Party. Don't Tulsi Gabbard, Adam Frisch, you get behind Tulsi and start learning. Get her book. Start growing your hair. You need a little gray streak. I'll tell you what. Tulsi Gabbard could lead the Democrat Party back to relevance. We are not going to tolerate the Communist Party out of you guys. That's over with. The wokeness, that's got to go. We're throwing that out. We're taking the trash out with Biden, and you guys need to start over with real people like Tulsi Gabbard.
There you go, but not necessarily the VP pick. JD Vance is yours. Now, Joe, I got a question for you. Is there anything that Adam Frisch would say? Let's say you lived in Congressional District 3. I don't think you do. I think you're from Arvada. But if you lived in Congressional District 3, would you ever pull the lever for an Adam Frisch?
I think there's a little place for Adam Frisch as dog catcher. I really do. I think he's definitely qualified. Maybe he can make some inroads on keeping the parks clean, something like that.
But you want a fighter. You're all in on. Is Lauren Boebert your gal in Congressional District 4?
Boebert is going to clean up, mop up, and here. Listen, let me plant a seed here that is going to grow into a tree. She is going to invite Donald Trump, and it may be a massive MAGA rally, and there will be no stopping the steamroller in front of the Trump train. Get on board. Woo!
And on that, we got to let you go. That is fantastic. And again, Joe, appreciate the call. Appreciate you spending time with us. And we gave Joe a second call this week in the interest of freedom and because we're not going to be here tomorrow, and we want to give him a second bite at the apple. And I loved his energy this morning when he was talking about
he's fun.
And I loved his description of Adam trying to repair the barn door after the after the horse is out. That was really good. It was that one. I'm like, all right, Joe, we got to get you on for that. We got you. That was good. One. Yeah, nicely done. Hope you have a good fork.
Another friend of the show, Eric Manning, saying that it should be Devin Nunes as the VP pick.
Ew, I don't know about that one. He's made some really weird, questionable choices. I'm not sure Nunes would. I don't. Does he gain votes? Does Nunes gain Trump any votes? I can see why JD Vance would. I'm not certain about Nunes. The Vance is an interesting pick. The thing for me is the only thing that you can throw at him per se is lack of political experience. He's been in Congress for a year. That's a hard one to say. This is the guy that's going to help shepherd us forward and do this with the governmental things with the dude that's been here a year. But then again, Trump had no government experience either, and some people think that worked out fine. I might disagree.
Want to talk to you all about roll-em-out shelves? I love my roll-em-out shelves. Joyce and Brent Tolliver are the mom and son dynamic duo, leaving satisfied customers wherever they go with their all 5-star reviews. Check out some of them. Life-changing. So much wasted space in our kitchen cabinets. My space has literally tripled, and I am so happy. The quality of the products are excellent. The quality of the labor installation is outstanding. The customer service is unsurpassed. I absolutely recommend Roll 'em Out Shelves. They're very good listeners, and they have great suggestions for cabinetry solutions. I agree 100% with everything those reviews say. So we had them installed recently. Took a relatively small kitchen with some deep cabinets and gave us access to them all in ways we've never had before. Our kitchen is outstanding thanks to Joyce and Brent Tolliver with Roll 'em Out Shelves. These shelves are sturdy Baltic birch shelves built right here in Colorado and guaranteed for life. Call for your free in-home estimate today, 303-475-9601 or rollemoutshelves.com. Be sure to tell them Jeff sent you. 303 475-9601 or rollemoutshelves.com. Coming up in the 9 o'clock hour, Jenna Ellis is going to join us. Yes, that Jenna Ellis. We'll be talking the Declaration of Independence. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill. To the phone lines. Chad, good morning. You're on the program.
Hey, great call from Joe Havana. I don't know Joe, but I'm dumping out my Sparklets water bottle, 5-gallon jugs, and going to Arvada to buy some water. There's something in the water in Arvada.
Yeah, he's on something special. He's great.
Hey, we got a big 4th of July thing going on at the Danny Dietz Memorial at Littleton, which I worked on. And it's in basically Santa Fe and Mineral, but right by downtown Littleton. And it's dedicated 2007. Beautiful, beautiful memorial. So we go over there for 4th of July because that's when it was dedicated. And I was there at Patriot Guard, which we do to protect families, that bury military personnel, because there's these groups that hound them. And there were 40,000 people that showed up in 2007. And we do it every year.
And what time do you do it over there?
Anytime. Just all come in,
the day?
have a coffee. Yeah. And then we go right over to Fort Logan. But it's all good. But I just wanted to call and let you know that I love what Joe's saying. So I already made up a little comment. Loan Borbit. What's the guy that actually renamed Mile High Stadium the Diaphragm?
Oh, I don't remember. Unfortunately, Jay, we're running out of time.
Yeah, we're just out of time. Jenna Ellis is next. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS. Won't believe the size of our hats.
You've tuned into the Turd Ferguson and Bill show on 710 KNUS.
Oh, that is great. That is great. Jeff has the world's largest MAGA cowboy hat sitting at the ready. Moment's notice when he needs it. It is absolutely spectacular. And he has dressed for the occasion. He's wearing his red, white, and blue, and I was sleepy. I forgot. So I am very disappointed because I have a long, I have an entire shelf in the closet of stupid hats. I mean, really stuff that lights up. I mean, I have fedoras that light up. I have things that have sparkles on them. I have got some really ridiculous stuff, and I feel like I've missed out today. I'm disappointed.
There's always Friday, Bill.
Yes, that's true.
You know the listenership's going to be huge.
Yes.
In between a holiday and a weekend. But you think today went off the rails, wait till Friday. You definitely need to tune in on that. Billy and I will be taking tomorrow off, but then we'll be back on Friday. And man, what a show we've had today. In just a second, we're going to hear from Jenna Ellis on Declaration of Independence. I'm going to ask her a little bit, too, about the U.S. Supreme Court decisions that came through earlier this week. So lots to talk about. In the 8 o'clock hour, Adam Frisch, Democrat congressional candidate for District 3, which is the western slope of Colorado, lost to Lauren Boebert by only about 500 votes, joined us in the 8 o'clock hour. He had an opinion piece out calling for Joe Biden to resign.
That was really cool.
And then 7 o'clock, we heard from Gary Marx, fresh off the airplane from Ukraine, on what's happening there.
I mean, this is some deep stuff.
Wild show.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about what does Putin want to do with Ukraine, and why is it of a life and death situation for Christians there?
Yep.
What is life going to look like for our friends in Christ if Putin gets control of Ukraine? The idea is scary. And you go back and check the interview with Gary in the 7, because he talks about something that Putin is doing to hurt the morals and the values and to really undermine the resistance there, something that is just diabolical that Putin is involved in, that you're going to be shocked with. And then Adam Frisch last hour. Yeah, the Democrat guy on this show. We know that his communications people are going to get fired later on today, but not our fault. That was their fault for allowing him to come on the show. But the weird part is, it's before his opponent comes on the show. Jeffrey has not been on the show yet.
Come on,
Mr.
Jeffrey.
Frisch has joined us. And regardless of whether or not you're going to vote for him, you got to respect that. I'm not saying you have to vote for Adam Frisch. I'm just saying you got to respect the fact that dude stepped in the lion's den with us this morning and appreciate it. So, man, we'll bring him back.
If you're willing, if you want to go to Washington, D.C. to represent what was about 100,000 people in the district and make tough decisions, you should be able to come on a radio show and answer questions from two lug nuts like us.
Exactly. Making that decision can't be too tough.
All right. Jenna Ellis is going to join us just after the news with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, good morning, guys. Great show today. It's been a great week. It really has. Nice job. 72 and sunny in Denver, expecting highs in the lower 90s today. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story.
Let freedom ring. And that's not happening. And how I just don't think if they do decide to make a change, and this is obviously a conversation they should have done 2 years ago, they need to make it an open conversation to allow the same 10 or 15 people everyone's been talking about. I don't have any favorites right now.
Joe's got to go. CD3 Democratic candidate Adam Frisch joining the show last hour. He made national news this morning because he's asking President Biden to step down. He says Democrats in his district don't have anyone they can connect with in the presidential race.
That connection is just not there. They also want someone to stand up. As I say, courage is the most important trait. Everything else falls into there. And sometimes you just have to stand up, or a lot of times you just have to stand up and say what you believe.
One of our awesome callers, Frank, with a great question for Frisch about his campaign.
I wonder how long you could hold out. How many years do you think you could hold out with a stiffly independent and for the people mentality before you cave to political money and funding and pressure?
So all I can tell people is there's not a single person in D.C. that votes for me. I'm just going to ask people to earn their trust and prove them right that they made the right decision. But I appreciate your skepticism.
Hey, by the way, Karine Jean-Pierre taking questions on Biden and his health on Tuesday.
Does President Biden, at 81 years old, have Alzheimer's, any form of dementia, or degenerative illness that cause these sorts of lapses. And it's a yes or no question. And if you don't know, why don't you, as one of his senior staff members, know?
I have an answer for you. Are you ready for it?
Yes.
It's a no. And I hope you're asking the other guy the same exact question. Okay. Go ahead.
Former President Trump's sentencing in the weaponized show trial is being postponed until September. This comes after Trump's lawyers filed a letter with Judge Marsham looking to set aside the recent guilty verdict. Holiday travel shifts into high gear today. The Department of Transportation warns wait times will be long. Driving through the mountains, fill the tank, pack water and food. The cheapest gas in the area, according to Gas Buddy, $2.83 at the Costco in Parker and $2.83 at the Sam's Club in Aurora. The Eisenhower Tunnel is likely to reach capacity with up to 52,000 cars passing through this weekend. DIA expects nearly 1 million passengers, and there's a new train with new train cars running at DIA. 66 state law enforcement agencies will be out on the roads and highways, keeping drivers safe from drunk drivers. Hand the keys over. Don't drink and drive. And if you're driving a minivan or even a 70s station wagon with paneling on the side, drive with pride.
This is the new Wagon Queen family truckster. This is a damn fine automobile. If you want my honest opinion, beats the hell out of the sports wagon, but I want to make you happy, huh?
Now, I'd like my Antarctic Blue Super Sports Wagon right now, and if you can't get it for me, I'm going to take my business elsewhere.
Sorry, I had to do that.
Blake, are those the cars that with the seats that face back? So the kids could watch the rear end collision.
You're too young, man. You didn't get to enjoy those, did you?
Yeah. Hey,
I didn't.
Blake, did you hear what Jeff just said there?
Yes.
Jeff just said so that the kids could watch the crashes from the back. From you and I, kids that sat in that back window.
Oh my God! No,
that is not what we were doing. No. We were taunting and trying to start road rage with the drivers behind you.
So
absolutely,
one of my
that's right.
How many times can we flip him off until he gets really angry? That's exactly what we were doing.
No doubt. There's no doubt.
One of them, I think it was Brian Regan, or one of them has a great bit about that where one, you try not to make eye contact with the people while you're driving, right? You're looking around, you don't want to look at them directly. But then secondly, those two kids had a totally different vacation than everybody else because they couldn't see what the signs were. There's all the backs of the signs.
Yes. Hey, one of my great memories is driving back from South Dakota from the ranch that my dad grew up on, and he's an Army veteran, right? So we're packed, man. 5 boys, my mom, my dad, all the stuff in a station wagon, just like where you're talking about. We're facing, backwards and everything. And this is in the 70s, and he drives by a couple of hippies, man, hitchhiking, and he pulls over to the side of the road. He gets out and goes, "Can't you see? I've got an entire family in this car."
Oh my God!
Put your thumbs down.
Wow.
And he took off. It was awesome, man. We're
get
watching
a job, you hippie.
Right, get a job.
Okay, now, so we're talking about questionable parenting decisions and things that could have gone horribly wrong in our childhood. Okay, everybody in this discussion right now that actually rode over the Continental Divide in the back of a pickup truck without any safety equipment, raise your hand. That's this guy.
You did that?
Yes.
Oh, man.
I mean, this is like, we're going to be 12 at the time, 10, 12, somewhere in there. Yeah.
Wow.
And
what
so
kind
we did.
of truck?
It was okay. These are friends that I talk about all the time that have a farm out in eastern Colorado. They're in Weldona technically, but it's they talk
in
about
Weldona.
Yes, but they talk about it being Fort Morgan, so they're Morgan kids, and we were up in the mountains with us, and I was going to go back and spend the next month with them on the farm and kind of work there and goof around, and so they decided to take the quote scenic route home, but they had only brought the farm pickup. So we're not talking about like the Silverado. This is not the Canyonero. We're talking about the, thank you for that. I appreciate that, Blake. We're talking about the old blue Chevy pickup truck that has got rust and dents, old fishing equipment, part of a chain in the back bed. And we go over.
Rusted.
Yes, exactly. It's always rusted. And we go over Continental Divide and it starts to rain. And we're in the back. Do you think they stopped to get us any ponchos or nothing?
Absolutely
no, because you know why? The kids don't shrink. That's okay. Yeah,
that's right.
Exactly.
They don't.
Yep.
Oh man. I mean, honestly, I don't remember wearing a seatbelt until I was like 23.
Oh, me either.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
And all those vehicles and those dangerous, man. But those pickup trucks and the rides around the neighborhood in the back of the bed, but over the Continental Divide.
Yeah.
Man,
Oh yeah.
that's awesome.
The thing is, we were coming back down the other side, and that's when you're kind of like, there's no cushion and padding here. That's when things started to hurt. Because again, there's no bed liner.
Man.
We are right on the steel. Yes.
You had bruises.
That is funny.
Kind of explains a lot about why I grew up this way.
Oh, no doubt. Go ahead, Jeff.
No, it's all yours, Blake, please.
No, man, I thought you had a better story.
Nope,
I don't know if
nope.
you topped that one.
No, his parents were responsible.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
He grew up in the 2000s.
That's right.
Yeah. They had safety. They were concerned about you. Yeah.
Safety.
Yeah. What the
All
hell?
right. Rockies tonight at Coors. They take on the Brew Crew. 68 in Lone Tree, 69 in Westminster, 72 in Denver. Jeff and Bill continue. Have a great Independence Day. Man, what a great week.
We need to stand up as Americans, put our faith in God, stand behind Donald Trump, and don't listen to a word these people say, and drag Donald Trump across the finish line with every erg of our moral fiber.
Man, there were so many great things this week. That was awesome. We'll talk to you guys on Friday. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Oh, man, Blake, that was good.
710, 5-day forecast. Warm, near 90 today. A couple of isolated thunderstorms late. Lows tonight in the 50s. Breezy northwest winds. It'll be cooler. Your 4th of July will only be upper 70s. Isolated thunderstorms. 50s Thursday night. Lower 80s Friday. 80s for the weekend. A few widely scattered showers and thunderstorms through Sunday. Weather sponsored by Branch Planning. Some income annuities are paying 25 to 45% more than last year. Get a free retirement review by calling Branch Planning today at 720-651-9800. Find out more at branchplanning.com. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
You know, when you have a real guest and we just act like a bunch of mystical boys.
Here's the thing, Ellis. You can talk to her. It's my fault. and again, it's always my fault. When things go off the rails here, it's always my fault. 110% of the time. There's an entire file about this.
So I've known Jenna Ellis for years. We worked together at Colorado Christian University, where she was a professor, and then she went on to big things. She was featured on Fox. She worked for Donald Trump. But all along the time, I knew she had this deep appreciation for the moral foundations of this country. In fact, she wrote a book about it titled The Legal Basis for a Moral Constitution. And on the eve of America's 248th birthday, that's right, 248. Tomorrow, she joins the Jeff and Bill Show. Jenna, thanks so much for being on the program.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And it's great, Jeff, to join you. And yeah, America is almost as old as Joe Biden. So, you know.
Yes, that is. What's your take so far on how Democrats are responding? I know we weren't planning to take this, but I mean, you've been in the highest levels of discussions in politics in this country. And it's so unique to watch Democrats have to deal with a hostile press because everybody knows they're just selling a bunch of baloney at this point. What do you think's happening in those rooms in Joe Biden's campaign right now?
Well, I think that the Democrats love winning more than Republicans do. And they have a loyalty, not as a party. And I'm not talking about, other specific Democrats. A lot of my friends are Democrats and they actually care about the country. I'm talking about the party. And from what I have seen in Washington, I mean, I think both sides are corrupt. I think the Republican Party just loves power. They love to be in the minority, in the opposition, just so that they can go on media and rant and write strongly worded letters and fundraise. And the Democrats actually like changing the world and making this into a leftist dystopian nightmare. And so what I really think is going on right now is that they are at a crossroads, and they've known that this was coming. I don't think that it was a coincidence or just a random opportunity that Joe Biden was on the debate stage and gave such a terrible performance before the convention, and that suddenly all of mainstream media is now totally shocked that Joe Biden is incompetent and can't discharge the duties of his office. We've all known this. I mean, the Democrats have been lying to us for years about Biden's competency. I mean, back in the 2020 campaign, when I worked for Donald Trump, there were discussions about Joe Biden not being fit for office. And I thought, even at the time, and talked to people in the Trump campaign about going harder after that point, and they didn't want to. And I think that was one of the frankly many mistakes that was made in the 2020 campaign. But to not have Joe Biden as a candidate, I think that has been coming for a while for the Democrats. But they're in a very sticky situation, because if he is not competent to be the candidate, why is he still competent to be in office for the next 7 months? And so I think that people like Representative Chip Roy and Senator Mike Lee, even on the Republican side, are right to call for the 25th Amendment to be invoked. They are right to ask for the vice president to get the members of the cabinet together, because this is all about who is actually in control of the nuclear button. This is actually who's in charge, a commander-in-chief of the military, all of these things. And when you have someone that is so clearly not mentally capable, this becomes a non-partisan issue. At least it should be for Americans. And what I've been so frustrated to see on both sides is the Democrats playing partisan party politics, which of course they do, but Republicans doing the same thing. A lot of Republicans are saying, no, leave Joe Biden in there because then Trump will win. Well, I'm actually concerned about the next 7 months for this country as someone who's an unaffiliated independent now, because I've seen so much corruption in Washington. So I think the conversations right now are centered around politics and optics and what's the best maneuvering and strategy, instead of what it should be focused on for both sides, which is actually who's in control and the future of this country.
Yeah, yesterday we had Ted Trimpa, and I had Ted Trimpa on your show when you gave me the incredible honor of being able to fill in for you. And Ted is a Democrat strategist. He's been at the highest levels of those conversations as well. And he laments that the Democrat Party didn't take advantage of a primary. He believes that they have all these talented governors in different states across the country that should have risen up, had the opportunity to compete at a national stage, but instead Democrats got behind Joe Biden and missed a huge opportunity. And now you've got to try to scramble with a delegation and a conference coming up and a convention. That was the word I was looking for, at the upcoming DNC convention. And it's just kind of now a big mess. They missed out a big opportunity. And they even said, look, at a certain point, Joe Biden was telling everybody he was a transitional president. He was only going to be in there to stop Donald Trump, and then they would move on. And he's gone back on his word. So a lot of division very publicly, which you don't see from the Democrats all that often.
Yeah, you really don't. And that's why I think it's a coordinated pressure campaign, because it's become so public. And you saw the mainstream media. I mean, I was watching CNN during the debate, and to see that panel immediately afterwards, I mean, I think everybody on that table, other than Kate Bedingfield, who most recently worked for Joe Biden, who was a little more hesitant, everybody there said there's no way that he can continue. He needs to be replaced. There's no way that this comes as just somehow the mainstream media is developing a conscience. I mean, that's not how Washington or the Fourth Estate works. But the same thing in terms of a missed opportunity in the primary could be said for the Republicans as well. I mean, they really coalesced around Donald Trump because, he's been playing the victim card. He needs to say that he has another chance in all of this lawfare. And, regardless of what you think about all of that, and I think, the Manhattan case was a total sham, all of that. I've always said, don't confuse the jury box with the ballot box. And if we had someone, I mean, I endorsed Governor DeSantis from my now home state of Florida. And I think that he has been so compelling in terms of the ability to actually carry through conservative policy and not care what the media says, not care to get into all of this drama. If we had anyone else in the nomination position besides Trump, we would be, as conservatives, in a much better position, and the Democrats would be scrambling, I think, even further, because they also waited to replace Joe Biden and have this conversation until it's almost virtually a guarantee that Trump will be the GOP nominee. So I think there's been a lot of mistakes on all sides. And when I was looking at the debate stage, I thought Trump did an excellent job of remaining measured and just giving Biden the opportunity to look like the fool that he is. And it was almost sad just to see how terrible his mental state is. I thought Trump did a great job, but I was sitting there thinking, really, this same matchup is the two best people that the entire country has? I mean, I would have loved to see in this year an independent or even a Republican and a Democrat that are more to the center and moderate come forward and say, you know what, we have a better alternative than these two extremes.
Yeah, Jenna Ellis joining Jeff and Bill live. Yeah, I agree. It's almost as if you show up and you're like, hey kids, we got a birthday clown, and you're like, that one? That's the birthday clown? It's like you couldn't, get someone higher up the level. But I want to go back to what you're talking about as far as replacing Joe Biden. I agree with you that the Democrats have backed themselves in a corner by allowing Biden to continue and not addressing this situation early on. The question that I have based on strategy is how the Democrats go about replacing him. We know the mechanism exists, but one of the things that both parties like are our choice. We want to make a vote. How do the rank and file Democrats, the ones that have to show up this fall to elect whoever the candidate is, acquiesce their choice to the DNC, Joe Biden, or the powers that be? During the previous election cycle, when Biden was running through the primaries, there was all this talk about how Bernie Sanders, the socialist, was being sidelined by the DNC because they didn't want him. And there was a burgeoning civil war. Can the rank and file Democrats swallow an appointed candidate?
Well, I think they did in 2020. I mean, they coalesced around Biden, and that was primarily because so many Democrats are willing to vote for anyone besides Trump. And I think a lot of even independents, moderates, disaffected Republicans who would have voted for a better GOP candidate are just voting against Trump. I mean, this is what I hear even from Republican friends in Florida, just saying, I can't vote for Trump again. So I think that they will coalesce around that. And even though there's a conversation now, of course, the easiest thing that I think the Democrats should do is just put it on Joe Biden's teleprompter and he'll read it. And then everybody will be like, oh, okay, he just stepped down of his own position and he won't know what he's saying anyway, right? So that'd be the easiest
solution. The Ron Burgundy resignation.
Right. And it would, and everybody would know what's going on. But I think that that Democrats who are calling for Joe Biden to withdraw certainly would be okay with that. And you could still sell it. I mean, Democrats are very good at messaging, just like Republicans are, and they can sell it as, talk to your delegates and we'll have, an open convention. And, they can frame it a bunch of different ways or say, hey, we're going to coalesce around whether it's Kamala Harris, Michelle Obama has been in the mix. She's the only one polling 10 plus points ahead of Trump. I mean, there's so many different ways that the Democrats could go. I don't see that is going to be that particular concern about the voters is going to be a real stumbling block, only because it's versus Donald Trump. And if it was versus anyone else, that may be a bigger issue. But I think that people just absolutely love or absolutely hate Trump. There's not really a lot of people in the middle, unfortunately.
Talking with Jenna Ellis. She's a Salem News Network host. Here you can watch her every night at 7 p.m. Mountain Time or 9 p.m. Eastern Time on the Salem News Network. Jenna, I want to shift here and talk about the founding of our country. You've written a lot about this, the moral foundation of our country, how morals guided the creation of the Constitution. As we reflect on the 248th anniversary of this country tomorrow, what should people be thinking about? Where should we take a moment to pause and think about where we are as a country and where we started as a country?
That's a great question, Jeff. And I know that a lot of your listeners and, a lot of people nationally just know me in the political space. And of course, being a former Trump advisor and former Trump lawyer and all of that. But really, as you mentioned, my love for this country and my engagement in politics was really more about legal philosophy. And that's where my heart is. And this is why I love being on Salem. This is why I have a morning radio show on the American Family Radio Network. And actually tomorrow morning, I'm going to be doing an entire hour on America's founding and why we know from our founding documents that we are designed and founded as a Judeo-Christian nation. And now this doesn't mean that that we are for certain extremes, like, for example, Christian nationalism that would compel every person to have to put their faith in the God of the Bible. No, we have religious liberty in this country. But what the founders understood and what we mean, I think, as conservatives and Christians about being founded on the Judeo-Christian worldview means that our founders understood that our rights are pre-political. Before any system of government is ever implemented or designed to govern a people, we have certain unalienable rights that are endowed to us by God, our creator, that are intrinsic to who we are as human beings made in the image of God. And our text of the unanimous declaration reflects that, where our founders understood that when governments so infringe upon our God-given rights, then it's one of our inalienable rights that we can alter or abolish our system of government. And the founders recognized that we have a right and a duty to do that. And so they founded this country recognizing that our rights are intrinsic and they are specifically moral. They follow the laws of nature and nature's God. They appealed to the supreme judge of the universe for the rectitude or the moral uprightness of their intentions. I love that phrase in the Declaration, that they call God himself the supreme judge of the universe. They appealed to God's moral and ultimate authority in the founding of this country. And then they went on to, the Articles of Confederation, then they went to the delegates to the Constitutional Convention, and they designed a system that could be altered within itself through Article 5 and the amendments process. We've amended our Constitution, our supreme law of the land, 27 times in our nation's history. And so we've done that. And I'm grateful for that, because as a woman, I can vote, right? Like, I'm a fan of that. I'm not a fan of other things that we've done, like, the 16th and 17th Amendment. Income tax, federal income tax, not such a good thing. And I think popular election of U.S. senators, not such a good thing. But we can have those conversations as a people, and we can be a self-governing people. But what we've seen over the last 248 years is a step away from understanding what self-government means, that it is, as my good friend Oz Guinness says, liberty is not the freedom to do what we want, but the freedom to do what we ought. And so government has this inherent legitimacy that if it is pursuing good and restraining evil in a civil society, then government has an obligation to be legitimate. And what we've seen over the last 248 years is that we've lost the legitimacy in government, because government has ultimately tried to infringe on liberty and tried to compel individual citizens to things that actually infringe upon our liberty. Like, we look at the Masterpiece Cake Shop case from Colorado. We look at the 303 Creative case to compel a Christian to participate in conduct that violates our sincerely held religious belief. Government cannot nor should not do that. There's no power given. I mean, if you look at the reaction, Jeff, from the Trump immunity decision from the Supreme Court, the left kind of went crazy over that, saying, well, now, the president can just do whatever he wants. No, they're forgetting, or maybe they've just never read the Constitution, that the government is given specific limited powers and separated powers through our consent of we the people. We've forgotten that principle, that government exists at the pleasure of the people and of our consent, but it's not we the people who are the sovereign. Our founders understood that God himself is the sovereign, and he gives specific limited authority to the civil government to promote good and restrain evil, to the church government for church discipline, for the good of those who follow Jesus Christ. And then he also gives specific limited powers to the family, which the government should support. We have parental rights. We have the right to train up our children in the way they should go, so when they're older, they won't depart from it. I mean, all of these principles our founders understood, and they understood the separation and the limits of civil government. But what we've done as a society, because we've lost the understanding of parental rights and the traditional family, we've lost the understanding of church government. So we've ceded so much power to the civil government that it has become this giant behemoth that it was never intended to be. And so on this Independence Day, I hope that people listening will recognize that we need to get back to our founding. That's what it means to conserve the principles of liberty, to understand what our civil government legitimately must and ought to do, and how much it has actually gone and infringed too much on the liberties of individual citizens. And that's why we're seeing our society that has just gone completely off the rails into cultural Marxism and queer theory, because we've lost the center of the measurable difference between right and wrong, good and evil, and the limitations of government that is under God's ultimate divine authority.
Talking with Jenna Ellis. Jenna, do you think with those divisions we can make it another 250 years?
That's a great question, Jeff. And, as my good friend and former client, Pastor John MacArthur, always says, it is cyclical in a society where, you have so much freedom and goodness, and then that ends up, the morality is abandoned. And we see that kind of evolution in Romans 1, where God just gives us over to our sin and our wicked desires. But then if the people repent and we understand that, this isn't good for a civil society, then the pendulum swings back a little bit. And we're seeing that in some ways, especially with the current Supreme Court opinions, like Dobbs, that gave abortion regulation back to the states. We're seeing that Chevron deference has been rolled back, so we don't have such a giant bureaucracy. Those are all good things, and those are all encouraging things. But it really depends on the morality of the people. And John Quincy Adams even said that our Constitution is made only for a moral and upright people. It's wholly inadequate for any other. And I think that if we want to make it another almost 250 years, we as a people are going to have to turn back to objective truth and objective morality and understanding the legitimacy of government. And if we don't do that, then I think we are spiraling downward at a very rapid pace.
Talking with Jenna Ellis. She's a host of the Jenna Ellis Tonight Show on Salem News Network, 7 p.m. Mountain Time every weekday night here in Colorado, or 9 p.m. Eastern Time. It's broadcasted nationwide. Jenna, I want to talk to you about the Declaration of Independence. Oftentimes people look at the 4th of July and go, well, this was about our anger over tax on tea. No, it's a lot bigger than that. And we broke with Britain. If you read the Declaration of Independence, essentially because of the breakdown of all three levels of government, the judiciary, the legislature, and the executive as well, to help people understand. And by the way, reading the Declaration of Independence doesn't take a long time. It's very short. It'd probably take you 15 minutes to read it, but help people understand that what the founders were fighting against was not just taxation over some tea issues, but really, for instance, here's one of the complaints. The King George has made judges dependent on his will alone for the tenure of their offices and the amount and payment of their salaries. Could you imagine if the king paying the judges how you would get a free and fair trial? If the king could just disband state legislatures anytime he wanted to, and he did do that, or held them at very far away locations, so you had to travel in order to get there to write laws, that really what these young colonialists were facing was a fundamental breakdown of government across all three branches, and that's what they were declaring independence from.
Yeah, and this has been a long question, Jeff, even, among conservatives and I think all Americans, was the revolution a rebellion or was it legitimate? And what the Declaration does is establishes the rationale that the founders, and all 5 of them who were on the Declaration Committee that actually drafted this document, Thomas Jefferson being one of the primary drafters, they all understood how law works, they understood how civil disobedience works, and they submitted this document to, and as they said, to a candid world, that when there are such usurpations as they were experiencing and all of their petitions had gone unanswered and they petitioned for redress at every turn, they actually set down, it's something like over 30 different complaints in the document, and you can go and read that in the Declaration of Independence to say, you know, these are not just light and transient things like tax on tea, or we don't like the speed limit, or, you know, we're not really happy that our members of Congress voted to fund Ukraine or support Israel, you know, whatever your policy position is, right? I mean, these are things that were so necessary to effectuate liberty that had been so infringed that they appealed, again, to a higher source of authority for moral legitimacy, which is God himself. And they said that prudence indeed will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes. And so they went on to say that when all of these, accordingly, when a long train of abuses and usurpations pursuing invariably the same object evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right and their duty, the people, to throw off such a government and to provide new guards for their future security. And they said, to prove this, let facts be submitted to a candid world. And they went on. And you're absolutely right that if we were experiencing the kind of absolute despotism and tyranny that our founders were experiencing, I think the people would also rise up and say, we've got to do something about this. Now, our founders, in their brilliance and their wisdom, allowed us to alter our form of government without necessarily abolishing it, because the government itself, we don't have people in office by right of conquest or heritage and lineage, but that's why they said it's we the people through our elected representatives. And and I know there are people out there that think that elections don't matter anymore and everything is just, you know, as the people in DC will it. Well, that's why our founders gave us Article 5, that if we don't like how a certain branch of government has usurped their authority or has claimed so much, we can alter their powers. I mean, we could take the power, for example, of the president to nominate Supreme Court justices and redistribute that power. We could do that through an Article 5 process, either through Congress or through the state legislatures convening and talking about judicial reform. So there are a lot of ways that our founders understood that we may need to alter our system of government to create and perfect a more perfect union into the future. And so this was a very calculated understanding of revolution. It wasn't just a bunch of torch-wielding villagers that rebelled and said and had this attitude of, we hate our government, get off my lawn. How, you know, frankly, a lot of people on the right think about government. Government isn't an inherently evil institution. It's designed for our good, but it has to operate within the guardrails of legitimacy and morality. And that's what our founders specifically and precisely set down in the Declaration. And that's what we as a country celebrate tomorrow on July 4th, is that our rights are pre-political. They come from God, our creator. And our founders said that truth is self-evident. They understood that this isn't just we're all getting together and deciding for ourselves how to reinvent reality. They understood that we have limitations within the world and the universe that God has presented us to, and our reality under the terms of his sovereignty. And so this was a document that argued for the moral legitimacy of the revolution. And it's one of the most brilliant documents that has ever been created by human beings. And I think they brilliantly set this down to argue their case.
Jenna Ellis, you can follow her on X at Real Jenna Ellis, JennaEllis. By the way, she has a book where she covers a lot of this called The Legal Basis for a Moral Constitution, a guide for Christians to understand America's constitutional crisis. Brilliant. Absolutely appreciate you joining us and preparing us to embrace the true meaning of July 4th tomorrow. Jenna, thanks so much for being on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Thanks so much, you guys. I really appreciate it, and always appreciate our friendship, Jeff. And congrats on your show. I think you're doing Denver a great service by being on every morning. So thanks so much.
I appreciate it. Don't forget us in Colorado as you head out to the free state of Florida. I don't blame you for getting out there. But
and happy 4th.
Yeah, happy 4th of July. All right, want to talk to you all about Gay Ribble, another great person we've gotten to know on this show. Gay Ribble, there's 3 reasons why I think you should use Gay Ribble if you have to sell your house. Number 1, Gay Ribble's a delightful person. She just radiates joy, and selling your house is one of the most difficult, stressful things you're ever going to deal with. You want somebody with that positive disposition to help you get through those special moments, stressful moments. Number 2, she shares our values. She supports what the station stands for, and she gives back to orphans in the state of Colorado because she was once an orphan. So she wants those kids to find their forever home. Number 3, she is a titan. Look, we all have friends and family members and neighbors that want to help us sell our homes because of the commission, right? But this is a business deal, and at the end of the day, you got to get the most you can. Listen to this. Gay Ribble and her experts get their clients an average of $30,000 more. Could you use an extra $30,000? That's precisely why you need Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team. Their exclusive database of over 14,700 people is filled. Pre-screened buyers ready to make a purchase. So they sell faster, 1.5 times faster. They have 14,000 pre-approved buyers ready to go. They make their clients an average of $30,000 more on the sale of their homes. That's why you need to check them out. Go to gayhasthebuyers.com. That's GAYE hasthebuyers.com, or give them a call at 833-301-SOLD. That's 833-301-SOLD. We'll continue with the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Want to take your favorite radio station wherever you go? Now, there's an app for that. No matter where you are, stream your favorite shows. Tap the app to listen to podcasts, text message your favorite local hosts, call the show, get the latest headlines, and enter contests to win prizes. All in the palm of your hand. Available now for iOS and Android devices in the App Store or Google Play. And best of all, it's free. Download today.
sure look good, America, for being 248 years old. Great conversation with Jenna Ellis. My question to her, do you think America can make it another 250 years?
Do we deserve to? I mean,
And
you
then
see
what
the two
happens
people
if
that
you
we've
don't?
got? Okay, you see the two people we're running for president? I mean, we're making these kind of choices. I mean, if there was an older, like, Parent America, they'd be pulling you aside going, I got to talk to you about the people you're hanging out with.
Get it under control.
Yeah, you're making some questionable decisions here. I'm not sure this is the right crowd
Billy, you
for
know it's not a questionable decision?
What is? What?
What is not?
Yeah, what is not? What?
Head into advanced hair restoration to deal with your thinning hair needs.
Absolutely.
You know, Westward named us the top hair restoration company in America. Named us the top talk radio show in Denver. And then they named Advanced Hair the top hair restoration company in Denver, Colorado. We're like brother and sister there. Everyone always asks, what makes Advanced Hair Restoration different? Allow me to share, along with some details on, and get this, their once-a-year summer savings event. First off, Advanced Hair stands by the results, and their before and afters are second to none. With Advanced Hair, your own natural hair is guaranteed to grow. Secondly, Advanced Hair combines top-rated physicians with modern technology, creating a concierge quality experience that's hard to find elsewhere. And lastly, Advanced Hair's Advanced FUE begins regrowing your own natural hair the very next day. Quick, simple, and easy. Now, if you have a flexible schedule this summer and you've been waiting for that special savings opportunity, it's here. Advanced Hair's summer savings event will get you the most hair for your dollar, and it's their best offer. For details and to schedule your free consultation, give them a call at 720-459-HAIR. One-day treatment, life-changing results. Your new hair is guaranteed to grow. Before and afters at advancedhair.com. That is 720-459-HAIR or advancedhair.com. I've had family members get their hair done, and it made them look more youthful. They had more energy. It really changed their lives. Check out advancedhair.com. All right, Billy, we'll get to Lewis in just a second. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. It's been an absolutely fantastic fire show. We talked to people that just got back from Ukraine in the 7 o'clock hour. Adam Frisch, the Democrat candidate from the Western Slope, joined us in the 8 o'clock hour, and Jenna Ellis in the 9 o'clock hour. If you missed any of it, go to 710 KNUS. Happy 248th birthday, America. We'll be back Friday. You've been listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS. Keep all those fingers safe.
Okay.